All right, what's going on? It is drive time. It is a Friday, and I'm going to warn you right out of the gates, we're about to get very weird. It's going to be a weird Friday afternoon, all right? Right out of the gates, just going to let you know that. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations, you made it. It is weekend time. Beautiful day, a little windy but warm. We reached 80 degrees for the first time this year here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and as it is every single day, it is good to have you along for the ride. My name is Spence Checketts. I host this radio show. It is called The Drive with Spence Checketts, and you've got it tuned into ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. We are proud to be part of Utah's ESPN radio network. We are out and about in the middle of a parking lot selling meat. Yep, that's happening today on a Friday. We're with our friends at Homestead Steaks. They're offering you 20 ribeye steaks for $40. It's their weekend meat sale. And we're at Fashion Place Mall. They also have this sale going on at Provo Town Mall. So Fashion Place Mall in Murray, the shops at Southtown in Sandy, and Provo Town Center Mall. They're open until 8 o'clock tonight. And they're going to open up at 10 a.m. tomorrow and go until 8 o'clock tomorrow as well. Then Sunday it's 11 to 6. So here's what you do, and I will wish you the best of luck on your quest. Put this address in your GPS, 10450 South State Street, and then follow that by number 2320. There's literally a truck set up with meat, and then we're right next to it. But the best way to find it is to put this in your GPS at 10450 South State Street, number 2320, and then follow that out. You'll see a meat truck. You'll see the ESPN 700 van, and we're hanging out. 20 ribeyes for $40. 20 ribeyes for only $40. Pretty insane sale. So we apologize for the noise. There's a ton of wind, and the truck is also on. They got to refrigerate the meat, so you're going to hear that all afternoon. You've got half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. All payments accepted, cash, credit, debit, EBT, you name it. So it's Homestead Steaks, 20 ribeyes for $40 is their main talking point, but they've got half price on bulk deal sets as well for steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. Come on by and say what's up. Really nice people, and it is an insane deal where you get 20 ribeye steaks for only $40, $2 per steak out here at Homestead Steaks. 10450 South State Street, number 2320. Put that in your GPS and then come on by and say hi. Keep following the GPS, okay? Just trust it. All right, a lot to do on a Friday. Masters round 2. Rory McIlroy, man, what an amazing round 2 after that difficult finish to his round 1 yesterday. Justin Rose just hung in there, and he still is your leader through 2 rounds. He's 8 under par. And all the players are in the clubhouse as of now. Well, most of them, I should say, at the top of the leaderboard. So we'll get you a quick rundown. Justin Rose, 8 under par, is your leader. Bryson DeChambeau carded a 68 today, and he's 1 back of Rose at 7 under par. Rory McIlroy, as I referenced, a dynamite 66 after 72 yesterday. He's at 6 under par, as is Terrell Hatton. Scotty Scheffler. Scotty is 2 under through 9. Terrell's 3 under through 9. So there are still golfers out on the course, but most of the golfers at the top of the leaderboard are in the clubhouse. Matt McCarty and Shane Lowry, 5 under par. So are Corey Connors and Jason Day. We'll give you an update on the Masters throughout the course of the show today. But we've got a lot to do. The Utah Jazz play their final home game of the season tonight in Salt Lake City against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll do some Jazz basketball on the program today. Alex Jensen has made another hire for the Utah men's basketball program. We'll tell you who the new coach is. We'll get to know him a little bit. We are high speed ahead of the NFL draft, right around the corner. NFL teams getting ready to make their selections. And don't forget, we're your home of the NFL draft here in Salt Lake City at the market, in the market. So we'll keep you up to date on all of our coverage. And we'll give you some rumors today, the latest on the NFL draft buzz, as we get prepared for round 1, which is April the 24th at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. And then, of course, going throughout the 25th and the 26th. So not a ton of local interest, but some. Will Junior Tafuna be drafted? Corette Reed, Brant Keithy, Tyler Batty, and the like. BYU basketball locks in another commit, and there's a rumor that another big-time commit is on the way. We'll tell you who these players are And we'll give you an up-to-date situation with Kevin Young's, not rebuild, but I suppose pivot and hoping to improve on a really good year last year for Brigham Young. Still awaiting word on more of the players for the Utah basketball side of things, but the coaching staff is starting to get filled out, so one step at a time. Utah Hockey Club is getting ready to finish their their first season here in our market. They're going to take on Dallas coming up tomorrow at 6 o'clock. That is a road game. Utah played their final home game against Nashville, so we'll do some hockey on the program today. RSL left today to hit the road. They are taking on Nashville as well. Hockey Club took on Nashville last night. RSL against Nashville coming up tomorrow. That is a 6:30 first kick, and that is on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. So a lot to do. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations. You made it weekend time. Take a big old deep breath. We are live today. I don't even know where to tell you where we're at. Outside of the address, 10450 South State Street, number 2320. I'm going to keep repeating that because it's the only way to find us. 10450 South State Street, number 2320. We are literally in the middle of a parking lot between JCPenney and Ethan Allen, and we are selling meat. It's Homestead Steaks. 20 ribeyes for $40. It's their weekend meat set. Come on by and say hi. They've got a bunch of other deals on bulk as far as steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. All payments accepted. Come on by and say what's up. 10450 South State Street, number 2320. First guest right out of the gates, one of our favorites from the Golf Channel. Rex Hoggard's going to stop by to talk Masters golf. 2 rounds, well, 1 round in the books. Round 2 going on right now. And we'll get with Rex today about all the storylines from Augusta, where little rain overnight softened up the course, so conditions pretty good today. And then Howard Beck stops by, NBA Daily Assist style. Christopher Kamrani, Friday staple of ours, typically on site, but we're not getting CK out south, I can tell you that much. But Richard Smith is a soldier. He is a hero. He will drive out and join us if he can find us at 10450 South State Street, number 2320. And then Paul Pugmire live at Augusta. I believe Paul's at Augusta. He was there for the drive, chip, and putt to give us a recap of the first 2 rounds. By the time Paul hops on, the majority of the golfers will be in the clubhouse, so we'll have an idea of what the weekend's going to look like. Cut line as of now is 2 over par. 2 over par. That could change. And we'll kind of give you an update on the players that will be playing over the weekend and the players that are going to be going home. Tony Finau, 1 under through 8, is currently at 2 over par. He is literally the last golfer, along with Keegan Bradley, Akshay Bhatia as well. Akshay is in the clubhouse, as is Denny McCarthy, so they will make the cut. But Tony's got work to do. Tony is the last golfer above the cut line to play over the weekend. So we'll keep you up to date on our local boy Tony Finau today. Rex Hoggard, Howard Beck, Chris Kamrani, Richard Smith, Paul Pugmire, me, Spence Checketts. All of you, the great listeners, come on out and see us at 10450 South State Street, number 2320. That's the best way to find us. And then about 30 minutes, I would say, northwest of us, is where we find the producer of this program, Porter Larson, who likes himself a ribeye from time to time. Do I have that understood correctly, young man?
I was going to say 20 for 40.
Yep.
That'll get me down there. If they're still open after the show, I'll be headed your way.
You won't be able to find it. I don't trust your inner compass. You would never be able to find where we're at.
If I get a whiff of those steaks, I'll be there in no time.
It is a great deal. Danny, one of the guys who's running the thing, really nice guy. He brought me over to show me the cuts. I mean, these are not like frozen meats that you get from like Trump International or whatever. These are high-quality pieces of meat. So 20 ribeyes for only $40. That's right, $2 per steak. It is their weekend meat set out here at 10450 South State Street, number 2320. All right, our first guest right out of the gates, Rex Hoggard from the Golf Channel. But before we get to Rex, courtesy of our good friends at Prize Picks, it is time now for your opening tip.
Welcome to The Drive with Spence Checketts on Utah's #1 sports talk. Now into the studios of ESPN 700 to set the scene for the show. The opening tip of The Drive is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use the code ESPN 700 and run your game with Prize Picks.
Special deal with Prize Picks today. It's a Flex Friday. One of the cool things about Prize Picks is every single day they have different deals for you. On Tuesdays, it's a Taco Tuesday. On Fridays, it is a Flex Friday. Make sure to opt in and tap the checkbox in your lineup builder to be eligible for the protected play. Choose squares from any game on the board. If your lineup does not win, you get your net losses back in promo funds to your promo limit as soon as the lineup settles. That's the deal on Flex Friday. Say that 10 times fast. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code ESPN700 at checkout, and you'll get $50 when you play your first $5 bet. Download that Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code ESPN700 at checkout, and you will get $50 when you play that first $5 bet. Prize Picks, run your game all season long. All right, some news out of the University of Utah today on the men's basketball side of things. Martin Schiller has been added to Alex Jensen's staff. Martin Schiller is a well-known name in the world of both college and pro basketball. And Richard Smith is going to join us coming up in a little bit. And Smitty, I'm sure, will provide some insight on who Martin Schiller is. So Schiller comes to Utah with a bunch of different types of experience. Head coach, assistant coach internationally in the NBA. He was an assistant coach for the German national team from 2015 to 2019. And Alex and Martin Schiller have known each other for basically a decade. So this is an interesting addition because one of the ways to kind of even the playing field, if you're not necessarily in the same NIL stratosphere as some of the highest spenders in college basketball, namely the school that plays about 40 miles down south, is to tap into some international prospects. And Utah basketball has done that for a number of years. Hanno Metala, Andrew Bogut, and others. I could keep going. And Martin Schiller has a tremendous amount of connections and experience overseas. Germany U20s, FIBA European Championship. And, you know, I could keep going. He coached the Salt Lake City Stars for 3 years from 2017 to 2020. And he won Coach of the Year in 2020 after leading the Stars to the Western Conference regular season title. So, during his time with the German national team, he worked with players like Dirk Nowitzki, Dennis Schroeder, Daniel Tice, other players internationally. So this is a guy who has been a head coach in the G League. He has been an assistant coach internationally, and with a ton of experience when it comes to both domestic and international players. Like I was saying, I mean, there are certainly programs right now that have deep pockets and NIL funds at their disposal when they're able to go out and simply buy players, which is what BYU is doing right now. We found the news out yesterday from Jeff Goodman that Rob Wright, a point guard from Baylor, who had signed a $1 million contract to stay at Baylor, decided to leave and not honor that deal because BYU offered him triple that, $3 million for Rob Wright. So Kevin Young has his point guard. And according to multiple sources, Darion Williams, who played at Texas Tech last year and had a really, really good year, is leaning towards signing with BYU as well. And according to reports, it is another seven-figure player. They're looking to bring Richie Saunders back at a seven-figure salary. AJ Debance, $7 million for 5 months of basketball. Rob Wright, $3 million. Richie Saunders, 7 figures. Reportedly, Darion Williams, 7 figures as well. I don't know what BYU's total NIL spend will be during this offseason, but it's already inching closer and closer and closer to $12, $13 million, and that's for 4 or 5 players. So we are moving a little bit closer to the House vs. NCAA settlement, and once we have that, we'll have a little bit more structure and a little more clear guidelines and some guardrails. We talked to Morgan Scally about this yesterday. So BYU adding more players via the transfer portal, Alex Jensen making more additions to the staff. And about an hour ago, news broke that Rico Sylvester has been hired as the Director of Operations and Player Personnel for the Utah men's basketball program. So now we are learning what this coaching staff is going to look like. Now we are seeing the coaching staff rounded out. Now we got to get some players, okay? We know that Keanu Dawes is coming back, Terrence Brown, the transfer from FDU, but that's only 2 players for a roster that has to fill out. So, Rico Sylvester Jr. is your Director of Operations and Player Personnel for the Utes. Wes Wilcox is your General Manager. Rafael Chilius, Eric Daniels, and now Martin Schiller are three coaches that will be sitting alongside Alex Jensen. Now, will there be additional hires on the coaching staff? Only time will tell, but Alex has referenced on a couple of occasions, including with our very own Sean O'Connell this week, that he is looking to keep this staff a little bit smaller than most of the college basketball staffs around the country, which I like, to be honest with you. I'm old enough to remember when Jerry Sloan had Phil Johnson and Gordy Chiesa, or Rick Majerus had Jeff Judkins and Dick Hunsaker and like Donnie Daniels. I mean, 2 or 3 assistant coaches used to be the norm in basketball, and now you see 3 or 4 coaches on the front row, 4 or 5 coaches on the second row, and even sometimes third row coaches, and I'm never fully sure what all these people do. But we are seeing Alex Jensen fill out his staff now, and we're seeing BYU add more players via the transfer portal. Utah Jazz with their final home game of the season tonight. They are going to take on the best team in the Western Conference, maybe the best team in the NBA, as Oklahoma City is in town to take on the Jazz. Big night in the NBA last night. We'll go over some of the storylines. Big night in the NBA tonight. But we are live today at 10450 South State Street, number 2320, and all I can tell you is that we're selling meat. That's what it comes down to. So put that address in your GPS and come on out here. Keep following your GPS. Just trust it. You'll see the ESPN 700 van, and you'll see the van with the meat with our friends at Homestead Steaks, where they're selling 20 ribeyes for $40. That's right, $2 a piece for these great ribeyes. They're open until 8 o'clock tonight. Then they're going to reopen tomorrow at 10 a.m. and go until 8 p.m. And then on Sunday, it's 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. with our good friends out here at Homestead Steaks. So come on out. The address, once again, is 10450 South State Street, number 2320. All right, beautiful day here in Salt Lake City. Beautiful day in Augusta, Georgia for the 89th players playing of the Masters Championship. And Rex Hoggard from the Golf Channel joins us right off the top. Coming up on the other side right here on ESPN 700. All right, we are live today with our friends at Homestead Steaks. They're selling 20 ribeyes for $40. That's really all you need to know. And I can tell you, I walked over and checked out the cuts. These are high quality pieces of meat. It is their weekend meat sale for 20 ribeyes for only $40. Little complicated to find. We're in the middle of a parking lot. It's 10450 South State Street. Number 2320, 10450 South State Street, number 2320. Just put that in your GPS and then trust it. Keep going. You're going to think that you're not there yet, but you'll get there. ESPN 700 van is your touch point, and the noise in the background will continue until 6 o'clock tonight. Nothing we can do about it. Little windy today in Salt Lake City. I wonder how the conditions are at Augusta, Georgia. Paul Pugmire, happy Friday, sir. Are you still there? Are you still at the tournament?
I am not. I'm back home and playing here today. But, the flags are standing up at Augusta. They've got a little breeze.
Okay. All right, Paul. Well, let's get into a couple of different storylines, and let's not bury the lead because the man in the lead deserves our attention as Justin Rose had himself a day yesterday. Now, Justin has led this tournament, has been tied or has led, I think, 9 times is what I read. And it's not the first time he had a dynamite round one. And he was fine today. He just kind of hung in there, and he has the lead so far. And there are plenty of golfers out on the course, including Scotty Scheffler. We'll get to Scotty in a moment. But what do you make of Justin Rose? 8 under par through 2 rounds.
Justin's a big game hunter. He's 44 years old, and he is on the downhill side of his career, but his record speaks for itself. And to see him in the lead in any major championship is not a surprise. Doubly so at Augusta because, like you correctly point out, he has been in the lead. This is the 9th time he's been, or today would be the 10th time. 9 times he's been in the lead at the conclusion of a round at Augusta in the Masters. He has a great record here. He's finished second. He was in the playoff with defeated by Sergio Garcia in 2017. No big surprise to see Justin Rose play well in this event at all.
How would you handicap his chances as we move, and we'll get to the cut line, and we'll see if Tony's going to hang in there, but he is your leader through 2 and moving day tomorrow. How do you handicap Justin's chances to hang in there and make Sunday interesting?
Well, look at the leaderboard right now. Let's go at the top 5. It is major champion, major champion, major champion, major champion, major champion. Augusta brings the cream to the top, and that is exactly what's happening right now today, and the wind is a part of that. But what's going on with Justin is that he is now, this is becoming a Ryder Cup scenario where the best of the best of the best are playing on the best course in the best tournament. That's exactly what you want to see. And so he very definitely, he's got the juice to make this happen, but he's going to have to go through several of the very best in the world.
And let's talk about the very best in the world that joined Justin Rose on a very crowded and exciting leaderboard to picture what Saturday and Sunday could look like. And I know I'm supposed to be here for the Bryson DeChambeau resurrection and the personality turnaround, and everybody suddenly loves him. I can't do it. He is so corny. I'm sorry. But he's so good, okay? Like, I will admit that he's good. But he's just one of those guys, when I hear him interviewed, I don't believe he's authentic at all. But that's just me. We'll take the personal side out of it. He cards a 68 today after a 69 yesterday. I think I read that the average off the tee was like 340, which is so dumb. But he's at 7 under par, 1 stroke behind Justin Rose. What do you make of the defending U.S. Open champs' first 2 rounds at Augusta?
Again, no big surprise. He has done well here before. He, as you note, he is the defending U.S. Open champ. He's been that twice. He is the low amateur back in his college days at Augusta. So he has had some success in this tournament on this golf course. He has what I think is a self-induced handicap to overcome to win at Augusta. Augusta requires a combination of deft artistry and visualization. in the short game, in the chipping, in the greenside game, because nobody is going to hit all the greens. Nobody's going to hit more than 13 greens. It just doesn't happen at that golf course. And the reality is, when you look at the greatest short game players in the history of the game, they are all people who get down on the club, crowded the ball, got their hands and their body as close to the ball as possible, and used the artistry in their eyes and in their hands. DeChambeau self-selects out of that with his stiff and single-length clubs. And so I have immense respect for his game. I have immense respect for the way he approaches the game. I totally understand folks like you who say you're not on board with his personality. Fine, doesn't matter. But his game is absolutely one of the best in the world. The hole in his game is exactly one of the things that Augusta demands, and that is creativity and artistry in the short game. If he is able to get over the top at Augusta, he will be doing it going against a self-imposed limit.
You know, Paul, here's what it is. Growing up, you're in high school, college, whatever, and the guys that try really hard to be cool, like way too hard to be cool, are the ones that are never cool. That's what it is with me. I think he just tries so hard because he was so hated for so long, and you could tell that bothered him. And I just think he's gone over the top the other direction to try to convince people that he's this authentic dude, and I just don't buy it. That's all it is.
No, it's totally fair, but I've got a question for you. After seeing his over-the-house thing, did you want to go try to hit a shot over some house and see if you could hit it onto something?
No, because Bryson did it. If Rory did it, would have been different.
Okay.
Look, I'm being too harsh. That was really cool. And by the way, I'm here for people are redeemable. I'm here for reclamation stories. And, let me ask you one more thing. How do you think it affected him personally where, kind of the origin of it was the Koepka back and forth when Brooks was on camera rolling his eyes at him, and then some other players around tour kind of scoffed at his whole, approach where it just felt like he was trying to sound like the smartest guy in the room all the time. How do you think that affected him? Because he clearly has gone about this intentionally to try to help people understand that he's not this weird dude that thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, I think he heard what people were saying, saw what people were doing, and made adjustments, and changed his approach to a few different things. And I admire that. I admire the guy for trying different things, and then I admire him more for saying, okay, that didn't work, I'm going to do something different. He is a polarizing figure. I totally understand that, and I understand why. But ultimately, for me, it's his all. I saw him in person several years ago before he bulked up, but he was lacing 5-irons that were occupying shot after shot the exact same airspace, one after another. It was amazing to see, and I've been a fan of his since then.
He's obviously a remarkable talent. There's no denying that. All right, let's move on. We'll just kind of keep talking about some of the notables. And, watching Rory yesterday, where, look, he was dialed in. He was playing incredible golf yesterday. It was just 2 chip shots that got away from him. And I felt bad, man, a couple of doubles down the stretch. But how about a 66 that as of now is the low round in the clubhouse? There's some other golfers out on the course. But what do you make of both the way Rory kind of fell apart once again down the stretch in round 1 and his ability to stay the course and get himself right back in it with his 66 today, Paul?
His 66 is so impressive for a number of reasons. The biggest one is exactly what you say, because he's coming off in his first round on 17. When he double bogeyed 17, that was his second double of the day, his second of the tournament. And he knows that nobody has ever won the Masters with 2 double bogeys on their card. He knows that in the last 20 years that there's only been 3 winners with a double bogey on their card, over 72 holes. And one of those was when Scotty Scheffler 4-putted 18 on Sunday when he had a 5-shot lead and it didn't matter.
That's right, yeah.
And yeah. And so Rory knows this stuff. And for him to keep his act together and go back out and shoot 66, which in this wind, if it's not the low round of the day, somebody's going to do something really special. That is impressive that he's come back, that he still has 2 double bogeys to overcome. Now, if he wins with 2 double bogeys in 72 holes, it means that he makes history. But who among us is more capable of making history than Rory McIlroy? It's a pretty short list.
Yeah, no, felt like, felt like most people that were kind of breaking down the tournament. I would watch the little golf channel coverage, then the ESPN stuff with Van Pelt, believed this was going to be the Rory-Scotty show. And let's move over now to Scotty Scheffler, who today is only 1 under, but carded a 68. And it was just so rock solid. You know, ESPN Plus has this channel where you can, the wind is now blowing allergies right into my face. ESPN Plus has this channel where you can watch specific players, and I tuned into the Scheffler channel, and it's just so solid. It's just so, like, robotic almost, but not a great round so far today. But it is Scotty Scheffler, so he is 5 under, which is T6, 1 under through today. What do you make of the first kind of round and a half for Scotty?
He's right where he needs to be. First of all, nobody has 4 great rounds in the Masters. There's only been one time that anybody has had 4 rounds in the 60s, and that was Cam Smith in 2020, and he didn't even win. Nobody has 4 great rounds at Augusta. And so if Scotty's off round, if you will, is today, and he shoots 71 or 70, then he's in great shape. And the thing to watch on Scotty is where he hits the ball relative to the pins and relative to the middle of the green. In other words, he very seldom takes on pins. He's hitting to the middle of the green or to the middle side of the green, which is just what Jack Nicklaus did and just what Tiger Woods did. Oh, and by the way, those are the 2 greatest players ever. And so what Scheffler does is wear a course out by making sure that he doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, it's just, when you see all these other players get so loose. I mean, even the 2 mistakes Rory made yesterday, Paul, like, Scotty just doesn't do that, right? Like, it's so rare to see Scotty Scheffler make a gaffe that he actually, as I say that, he just bogeyed. So now he's 4 under par. But the catastrophic mistakes that other golfers make, Paul, Scotty just doesn't seem to make those.
No, and that's exactly it. And look, the aphorism, and it holds itself true time and time again. Birdies don't win tournaments, pars do. Though anybody playing at this level can make birdies, and they all do. It's the guys who don't give them back that are there at the end of the tournament and looking at a trophy. Scheffler, that is his magic power, is not giving things back. And yesterday on 15, when McIlroy hit that chip, he went into it too quickly. And while it's unfolding, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, Rory, take your time here, dude. This will run away from you. You got to be a little more deliberate about this and find a soft landing spot. And he didn't, and the ball did run away from him, and it went through the green and in the water on the far side. I think that was the kind of shot that just needed more consideration. And I can tell you Rory's not going to do that twice.
Let me follow up there, because I was watching last night. Excuse me, goodness gracious. It may not be windy at Augusta. It is out here in Sandy. I was watching the golf coverage after the round, the post coverage on Golf Channel, and I didn't realize this in real time because I was watching a bunch of other groups. But apparently, I guess Akshay Bhatia hit it in the water, and then took a lot of time to try to determine where he was going to drop it, and then took a lot of time to hit his shot. So they were saying Rory was standing over that chip for 5 minutes. So do you think it was a case where maybe he was in his head too much? Because to your point, when he stepped in it, it did look like he rushed the actual shot. But according to the Golf Channel guys, he was standing over the chip for 5 minutes, and Rory is a notoriously fast player. Do you think that messed with his head a little bit?
It very well might have, and I appreciate you telling me that. I at the time I was I was working, to all my colleagues who were wondering, but I had the sound off on the TV. And so I didn't hear the commentary, and so I didn't know that about Akshay. But that does make really good sense. But to me, when I just saw him step into that shot a little abruptly, I thought at the time, and then he just plain carried it too far into the 15th green. Now, we have the advantage of having seen a couple of players hit that shot when Rory was playing other holes. We're watching on TV. But, I've had the privilege of being there, standing on that green. It is so severe. And I know Rory knows this, good land, but that shot just plain got away from him, and I don't think he gave it the respect it needed.
Is that the green where Tiger, Vern, oh my goodness, the Tiger moment? Is that the green where the Tiger chipped in that everybody has seen the highlights of?
Oh, that was on 16.
Oh, okay.
From
right.
Over the back. And what Vern said was, in your life have you
That's
seen
right.
anything like that?
That's right.
It was a great call, but the answer was yes. Actually, 3 years prior, Davis Love did it from about the same spot. So.
Oh, Paul, do not shatter our dreams that, all of us that have watched the Vern call and believe that has never happened before and will never happen again.
Well, the Vern call was really spectacular, and it does set it apart. And look, it was one of the greatest shots in the history of the game, and it mattered because it was Sunday and because Tiger was in the mix. And when Love did it, it was neither Sunday nor was he in the mix. And so all those things make Tigers the greatest. Seriously, one of the greatest shots ever struck in the history of the game.
Okay, we've got a little.
Live?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I've seen it anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, we've got some bad news. Tony just bogeyed, so he's even through 10 after carding a 75 yesterday, which means as of now, with 8 holes to play, Tony is 3 over par, and the projected cut line is 2 over par. So he's 1 stroke behind the projected cut line. Canada's own Mike Weir, who lives in Draper, fine. He is coming home. He will not be playing over the weekend. But what do you make of where we're at right now with Tony? 8 holes left. He's got to find at least 1 birdie if he wants to play over the weekend.
There are birdies out there, no question, on both 13 and 15. Now, as we darn well know and have discussed here just over the last few minutes, those holes also have double bogeys waiting on them.
Yeah.
But those holes are gettable. 12 with the front left pin placement on 12 today, it is gettable. 11, you better pay real respect to 11. Same to 14. 16, always 16 is hard. That green is so difficult to cut. And 18 does not get enough credit for being a great hole and a hard hole, and especially a finishing hole as good as it is. 18 is like going straight up a wall. It's so steep, and it doesn't show up on TV. But you can't see the green from the fairway. 18 is always so tough. Tony can get himself back inside the cut line, absolutely. But there's a lot of monsters waiting out there.
So in order to be fair, I will point out that Terrell Hatton is 6 under par, and he's 3 under through 10. Okay, let's see. There's some other names here as well. Of course, Bryson. Bryson's a live guy. Terrell Hatton's a live guy. So we do have a couple of live guys that are showing pretty well. Patrick Reed is at 2 under par. Bubba Watson's at 1 under par as well. But when you look at, so John Rahm 2 over, okay, he's going to play over the weekend. He's going to make the cut, but a 75-71. And I swear, Paul, when you and I first really started doing radio consistently, every time you'd hop on, I'd ask you, like, what the hell happened to John Rahm? Why is he suddenly the best player in the world? Why is he suddenly the guy that everybody is scared of, including at the time Scotty Scheffler? Then you have Dustin Johnson, who will miss the cut because he's in the clubhouse. He doesn't have any chances to get back over the cut line. You have Cameron Smith, once upon a time thought to be the one of the rising young stars on the PGA Tour. You have 5-time major champ Brooks Koepka, who will not be playing over the weekend. Phil Mickelson, looks like a lot of the live guys aren't going to make the cut. Let's see. Where did I see Phil? Oh no, Phil actually will play over the weekend. He rallied. Well, he's still on the course. Anyway, John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, as well as Cam Smith. Like those four guys at one point were four of the best players in the world. What is fair to say about what LIV has done to any or all of them?
It is that is such a good question, and I think there are layers and layers and depth to really fully understand it. But let me skim a stone across a few of them. Number one, 54 holes is not a complete test. It just is not, and don't ever let anybody tell you it is. Number two, when you don't have a cut, when you're not faced with the possibility of not making the weekend and not making a check, when you have to beat half the field in order to even make it to complete the event, it changes the dynamic. It's a very, very different mental game. In quick digression, I think the PGA Tour is making a mistake taking the cut away from the elevated events there. The third thing about LIV is that the shotgun start means a shotgun finish, which means that somebody who makes up ground on the field the last day of the tournament does not finish the same holes in the same sequence in the same way that everybody else does, and it's a different dynamic. It changes the game. You add all of that together with the fact that nobody watches this stuff. The numbers are just next to zero. LIV is virtually invisible in the media sphere. These guys don't have the white hot light on them, and when you don't have the white hot light on you, it doesn't steel you and temper you, and they're losing it a little bit. DJ, he's on the downside of his career. Just he's getting to that age. That's fine. He has nothing to prove and nothing to apologize for. But Koepka, Rahm, DeChambeau, Smith, Joaquin Niemann, Terrell Hatton, these guys are doing themselves a disservice to not always be in the white-hot light, and I think it shows up in places like this week.
All right, Paul, before I set you loose, you're always good to put some perspective on who you think can actually win the thing over the weekend. And I believe, I don't know if this was a Brandel Chambly fact from last night. I'll just say from my recollection, most of the winners come from the top five after the first and the second round. So if we stick in that space... Yep. So if we stick in that space, we'll call the cut at 4 under, and if Scotty just made a birdie, so he's 5 under. I was just going to include 4 under because Scotty's there, but he's at 5 under. So Justin Rose, Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, Corey Connors, Terrell Hatton, Matt McCarty, Shane Lowry, Jason Day, Scotty Scheffler, and I'm going to throw Victor Hovland in there because I've seen him do amazing things. That's the list of the players that are in the top 5 and maybe just right outside looking in. Does the winner come from that group? Who do you think it is? Is there anybody from the outside, maybe Oberg, who's at 3 under, that you think can make it interesting?
Yes, the winner comes from that group. Let's eliminate those who have not won a major championship. With a leaderboard like this that is dominated by people who have already proven they can win a major championship, it'll be somebody doing it again, not somebody doing it for the first time. And so then it's got to come down to, is Rory McIlroy going to make history and become the first player to win this thing with 2 double bogeys on his card? After what he did today in the wind, combined with what he's been doing, the way he's been playing and winning on great golf courses this year. He's won at Pebble Beach and he's won at TPC Sawgrass, and he brings technically a different tool, a different weapon to the game this year than he's ever had, and that is a 3/4 swing short iron that comes in with less spin, and so it's easier to control where it stops. I'm going to add all that, and I'm sticking with Rory McIlroy.
Love it. Paul, thank you, sir. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll get you back on soon. Oh, wait. Before you go, what's coming up on the show tomorrow? My bad.
Oh, no problem at all. We're going to be doing some things with the Glenmore Am. That's where I am. The senior Am is played today, and then the regular Am is tomorrow. We're going to be celebrating and putting a cap on the drive, chip, and putt. Hey, the 3 kids from Utah who were in the dry chip and putt national finals last weekend, all of them, all three, got second place. It was a huge showing for the Utah kids. We're going to be celebrating that. And one of the great golf journalists of our time is Wesley Ruff. His 40th anniversary was this last week. We're going to talk with Wesley about 40 years of covering golf in Utah.
How did Johnny Miller's grandson, who's named after Jack Nicklaus, play? This poor kid who has been this weight of the world put on this young man's shoulder. How did our guy do?
He did remarkably well.
Okay.
He was one of the three who finished second place.
Okay.
And he was a little unhappy about that as we were talking afterwards. But I said, you know, you didn't lose, you got beat, and those are different. The kid who beat him, you know, they do the putting portion on the 18th green at Augusta National, and you get a 30-foot putt and a 15-foot putt, and the kid who beat him jarred both of them. He went Drano on both the 30-footer and the 15-footer and went out and stole it from Nicholas Miller. And so even though Nick was a little disappointed, he realized, oh, wait, yeah, I got beat by a great performance. So he did really well.
Okay, let's just not nickname him Tiger. Nicholas Miller, you know, if we nicknamed him Tiger, I just want to give the kid a hug. Paul, thank you for the time, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Spence.
Paul Pugmire. All right, time now to win a free round of golf at Valley View. Wow, what is going on with our radio station? Did we up our budget? Valley View rules. Text 877-353-0700 right now. Say something nice about Porter. We've been buttering him up all week. For you to win a little golf at Valley View, one of the best tracks in the entire state. I don't mean that hyperbolically. So text 877-353-0700. The nicer you are to Porter, the better chance you have to win. All right, we are live today in the middle of a parking lot. Now, it's not just because we're hanging out. It's because we're selling meat. We're with our friends at Homestead Steaks, where they're offering 20 ribeyes for only $40, $2 per steak. So come on by and say hi. Best way to do it is to put this in your GPS and simply follow it, even if you don't think you're going in the right direction. 10450 South State Street. That's 10450 South State Street, number 2320. 10450 South State Street, number 2320. All right, 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. Howard Beck joins us coming up on the other side of a Friday drive, so keep it right here on ESPN 700. All right, we've got Chris Camerati from The Athletic joining us. Utah football is almost done with their spring portion of the calendar. We've got the Forever 22 game coming up next Saturday. UtahUtes.com is where you go for tickets. Richard Smith, 40 years with Utah Jazz. He's going to roll by live on site today. And then we'll get you back out to Augusta for an update on the Masters. But the hippest NBA writer around on a Friday afternoon joins us. Howard Beck, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Spence. How are you? Thank you for bringing me into REM. I appreciate it.
No, you got it. I figured that would put you in the right headspace, and that's what we need from you today. And Howard, you know, I'm old enough to remember when you were good at your job, you typically kept it. Didn't help Michael Malone. Since you and I last spoke, Denver gets rid of the most successful coach that organization has ever had 2 years after he wins a championship. And we're learning more about it as this kind of story unfolds. But what was your reaction in the moment, and where are you at with it right now?
I mean, I was absolutely stunned in the moment, just like everybody across the league was, because, yes, the whole league knew there were tensions between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth. The whole league was on alert that something might happen in that organization, whether it was Malone going, Booth going, or as we saw, both going. What I think shocked everybody is that this happened with 3 games left in the regular season. And, this is coming just a week and a half or so after the Memphis Grizzlies shocked us all by firing their very successful coach, Taylor Jenkins, with just 9 games left in the regular season. And it's at that time, the first thing we all said was, well, this is unheard of. Coaches get fired late in the season sometimes, but usually from bad teams, not playoff-bound teams, or in the Nuggets case, a team that still has a plausible shot at making a run to the finals and with the best player on earth as their franchise face. And so what's shocking is not that they might have decided it was time to move on. It's just that they did it at the date that they did it. And yes, Michael Malone, great coach, obviously the best coach in Nuggets history, most successful coach in Nuggets history by record, by championship ring, their first. And, there are circumstances. We can get into the whys of what they did.
Howard, you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, no, I got you. You know, one of the things that I just don't fully there are a lot of things I don't fully understand about it, but with the Celtics just sold for $6 billion plus with NBA valuations as high as they are. If you're an owner of an NBA team and you don't feel like spending money on your team, there are other owners who will. Now, certainly, no matter how rich you are, you don't want to lose money. I mean, that's certainly one thing I know about rich people. They don't like losing money. But what's fair to say about the way the Cronkies are operating this organization and the way that they're supporting or not supporting the greatest player, in my opinion, in the world in his prime? They're not going to have Jokic forever.
No, they won't. And I will just say, if they thought there was any reason that Jokic would be unhappy with this move, I don't think they would have made it, right? This is not to say that Jokic had a hand in it at all. But every NBA team these days is going to operate in a manner where you think any major decisions are going to be at least met with approval or at least not disapproval by your franchise star. This has generally been a cheap organization. I have heard, I cannot confirm this, but I'll just pass this along as scuttlebutt. I have heard that Calvin Booth was by far the lowest paid GM in the NBA. Michael Malone was being paid pretty well, especially after the championship, and they're now going to have to pay him, after firing him. So, teams that are super cheap don't want to pay fired coaches. But, yeah, look, they didn't want to pay the luxury tax, or they didn't want to increase their luxury tax bill by keeping Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They let him walk. That's actually turned out okay for them. KCP has not exactly had a phenomenal season in Orlando, and Christian Brown has actually been pretty good as his replacement. But no, they haven't made the moves aggressively that I think you need to continue to build around Jokic. They have eroded in the couple of years since the championship. There's no question there. I don't think all of that is financial. I think some of that is just they have not been real creative as a front office. And somebody else is going to get the chance to try to steer it in a different direction now.
So Josh Kroenke gave an interview to one of their in-house media propagandists, which is what NBA teams do now. They all have their own in-house media. So you don't really ever get the real stuff. You just get what the team wants to, propagate out into the community, and I guess that's media in 2025. But he said he wanted to see his team play with joy again. And the eye roll, I cannot explain the eye roll that, that I had. And look, maybe this is a scenario where I'm just too old and the approach of somebody like Michael Malone might be outdated. Because, look, Michael Malone, his father, Brendan, of course, assistant coach in New York, and Michael was in New York as well, and so we got to know him a little bit. And he's not a warm and fuzzy guy, but most coaches, at least in my experience, are not. Or is it a new day? Does that approach no longer work, Howard, in today's day and age of pro basketball?
I mean, I will say, like, you knew Michael Malone when you were in New York. I met Michael Malone when I first got to New York in 2004, and he was an assistant coach for the Knicks. And on a personal level, he's a perfectly warm and fuzzy guy. Maybe not the warmest and fuzziest, but he's very personable. He's a great guy. I like him a lot, but he is old school. He is a hard ass. He is a hard driver, and he is a guy who's going to call out his players behind closed doors and sometimes in press conferences, as we've seen multiple times over the last year and including within the last week, where it was clear he had kind of lost patience with them, and he was not shy about it. And I don't, I'll just tell you, I've had plenty of conversations this week with people around the league, including some folks who have direct ties with players in that locker room, who made it pretty clear to me they were worn out. They were just worn out. And it happens. And, you could say that, well, this is just not the era of the NBA for an old school coach like Michael Malone. We see fewer and fewer coaches with his kind of approach, that style, that tone. And there's a reason for it. But it can work for a while. He was there for 10 years. That the current group might have worn out of that and was ready for a new voice. I don't think it's too shocking, but I will say that it is absolutely the case that, whether you want to say lost the locker room or whether you want to say players were tuning him out or he wasn't connecting anymore, whichever phrasing you want to use, it was the case. It wasn't just that Michael Malone and the front office hired the GM. You could have just gotten rid of Calvin Booth and resolved that tension, especially at this time of year where you're past the trade deadline, you're past the date to make any kind of moves for a while. You could have done that. So if the only issue were coach versus GM, you could have thrown overboard the GM. It's because there was problems in multiple directions that they also had to get rid of Malone at this stage.
Last thing here, throughout the course of the season, once Oklahoma City established themselves as the dominant team in the West, and quite frankly, historic in a lot of ways with the net, the differential, and their win rate, the conversation on this show with you and others has been who keeps Mark Daigneault up at night. And the answer oftentimes with you and others has been the Denver Nuggets. Has the coaching chaos and switch with Coach Adelman now just getting the opportunity to do this with only a handful of games left, have you changed your calculus on what you think Denver can do this year in the postseason?
I'm kind of two minds on this, Spence. One is that I think the very removal of a coach at this late stage of a season, if you have championship aspirations, I feel like it's really destabilizing. Just by definition, it feels destabilizing to me to change the leadership at this moment with days to go in the regular season. But obviously the Nuggets don't feel that way. Obviously they feel like David Adelman as a new voice who's been around for a while, like he's been with the Nuggets for 7-8 years. Like he's a known quantity there. It's different being the head coach versus an assistant, true. But I think their feeling is, and I'm just deducing this, that if they still think they have a chance to make a run to the finals and have a shot against the Thunder, it'll be with a different voice. So they would probably argue, no, we've increased our chances of being the team to knock out Oklahoma. All that said, I think there's more than a couple of teams these days that are probably keeping Dagnall up at night. Like, I don't know. If I'm a head coach, I don't care how talented my Thunder team is. I don't want to see LeBron and Luka together at some point in the postseason. I don't think I want to see Steph and Jimmy Butler either. And for that matter, as long as the guy stays healthy, I don't want to see Kawhi Leonard. So, it's a really interesting Western Conference race because the Thunder are the clear favorites. They've earned that. But there are like 6 or 7 teams that have a legit shot to make the conference finals. And I think any one of them, has a puncher's chance.
When you're around this stuff and you've worked and covered it as long as you have, and, I hate to say this, I'm not as old as you are, but I'm getting there, Howard. I'm right behind you. I've been doing this for quite some time to have enough skin in the game to really try to fight the innate skepticism and cynical nature that tends to seep in. But I will admit to being enthralled with the scene of Luka Doncic going back to Dallas and the pregame introduction where he is in tears. And I could not help but think of Mavericks fans because, we actually have a weird parallel here, Howard, to what happened in Dallas. It's different on a lot of levels, but bear with me for a moment. Because when Dallas traded Luka, you heard a lot of people say, how do you trade a 25-year-old generational superstar, global superstar in his prime? How do you do that? Donovan Mitchell's not Luka Doncic, but the Jazz traded away Donovan Mitchell at the age of 25 as he was just entering his prime. Much different scenarios. But to see Luka in tears, if I'm a Mavericks fan, it makes me even more upset at Nico Harrison because that dude wanted to stay and would have stayed forever. Donovan probably was not going to stay. When Donovan came back the first time he had the opportunity with the Cavs, there were no tears. You could tell that Donovan wanted to get out. So they're two very different things. But for Jazz fans in Salt Lake, like if Luka was theirs and he comes back and he's crying, it adds even more insult because you know that guy wanted to be here and you jettisoned him off. So you have the tears pregame, and then he just goes out and dominates. And I thought it was really cool. I will admit to sitting there glued to the television, be like, good for Luka, man, and gutted for Mavs fans. How did you digest those scenes in Dallas, Howard?
Spence, it's like nothing we've ever seen before. Like, there's no precedent for this. Like, there are plenty of players who left the team via trade or free agency and came back, and it would be emotional. Maybe it's negative emotions, maybe positive. But it usually was the player's choice to go. And we've just never seen a superstar of Luka's caliber traded against his will and to his shock in his prime, not to mention to a team that, like the Lakers are everybody's rival, right? Like everybody hates them. If you're not a Laker fan, you probably hate them. And so it's so complex and so unprecedented that the scene the other night was going to be surreal regardless. So now you have, 20,000 Mavericks fans in Luka T-shirts and in Laker jerseys and whatever, and they're cheering everything Luka does. This is not LeBron James going back to Cleveland as the enemy and being, like, absolutely booed and serenaded with all sorts of awful things. Luka's being cheered at every turn, every time he touches the ball, every time he hits a shot. It's as if Mavericks fans were Laker fans that night. Like, how awkward did that have to be if you were, Daniel Gafford and Spencer Dinwiddie and Anthony Davis, for that matter, where the entire crowd, it sounds like it's a Laker home game, but it's in Dallas. Like, that's brutal. And then when they're not cheering for Luka, they're chanting "Fire Nico." And, like, it's just, there's never been anything like this, Spence. There just hasn't. And, yes, you can be happy for Luka. You can feel gutted for Mavericks fans because they are gutted by this. It's just a really, it's fascinating, but it's just, it was surreal, as I say. And they're not getting over this anytime soon, right? Like, Luka's going to be with the Lakers for a long time to come. They're in the same conference, so they're going to be in Dallas twice a year, and they're going to have to relive this pain in Dallas every single time. And I don't think Nico Harrison and Patrick Dumont are ever going to live this down.
What in the hell do the Phoenix Suns do? Matt Ishbia, there was a clip of his comments at the end of last season, talking about how bullish he was with the talent they have on paper coming into this year. And look, I'm not running him down. If I had Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Brad Beal, I mean, we've seen all three of those be generationally special at times. They've never been generationally special together. But what do they do? How do they get out of this hole? What's next in Phoenix? They have the highest payroll in the league, and they're missing the playoffs.
That ownership group and just the leadership there has been just, delusional at every turn. Like, I think the quote from Ishbia at this time last year was something to the effect of, like, oh, yeah, 28 other GMs would love to have what we have. And, like, no, I think you're missing a few details here where you've got a Bradley Beal contract that is the worst in the league and unmovable, in part because of the size of it and in part because he has a no-trade clause. And, here it is, most expensive payroll in the league. They couldn't even make the play-in. So everybody believes they're going to trade Kevin Durant. That's the obvious part. But here's what I would say. Because you still can't trade Beal and you're stuck with him, does trading Kevin Durant get you anywhere? Because what you're going to get back for Kevin Durant is not going to be as good as Kevin Durant. It'll be some combination of players and picks or whatever, but it's not going to move the ball forward. Devin Booker plus that, whatever you got for Durant, plus Beal, plus Grayson Allen or whatever, is not getting you anywhere. You're worse off. So the only answer to me, the only logical conclusion is you have to trade Devin Booker also. You're done. Like this thing is just cooked. And by the time you turn this thing around, if you can, Devin Booker is going to be 35 years old. They don't have draft capital because they've traded it all away. The only way to replenish your draft capital and to make yourself viable again is to trade both of them.
Jeez. And you know what? I can't argue. I can't debate. I think that's the only play. I just wonder if a guy like Matt Ishbia is willing to eat his crow a little bit, because we kind of have a similar type of ownership situation out here with the change from the Millers to Ryan Smith. And, Ryan is a hyper-competitive guy, and I can tell you that the way the stuff has gone with the Jazz has not sat well with him. He's tried to push for a Drew Holiday deal here, or a Kristaps Porzingis deal there, or a Mikal Bridges, or whatever it is. He's tried to go all in on big-name players, but it hasn't worked, and so I know he's had to eat a little crow as well. Do you think Matt Ishbia has that in him to understand, like, this really is the only direction if we ever want to get back to where we want to be?
We're about to learn a lot about Matt Ishbia and whether he can learn from his mistakes, whether he can even acknowledge that a mistake was made, right? Like, the first thing we learned about him as an owner was he's going to be really aggressive. He's really confident in what he does, because he took ownership of the team and immediately made that trade for Kevin Durant, which cost a ton of draft capital, plus Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. So you could admire that on some level. Okay, he's bold, he's ambitious, he's aggressive, he's not afraid to spend. Like, those can be positive things unless you do it unwisely. And the Beal trade was the unwise version of that. And so the next thing we'll learn is, has Matt Ishbia realized the error? Is he reflective enough and self-aware enough to realize it's time to pivot? And are the people around him giving him the right information? Because, like, all these guys, they come in, they're great in their other, their other careers in real estate and finance and whatever. They think they know basketball or the NBA, but they don't, and they have to learn some hard lessons. So has he learned his lesson? We'll find out soon.
All right, Howard, final thing, I'll set you loose on this. We'll kind of go back to what we were talking about with the West, and you referenced, when Kawhi is healthy, we're all just reminded of, like, oh, yeah, that's who he is when he's right, and he still is that when he's healthy. Luka, LeBron, two cerebral, high-level computer basketball-skilled players. Watching them figure out has been fascinating. Denver has Jokic. Golden State has been different with Butler. Minnesota probably deserves some flowers as well. If I hold you to one answer, the team that is keeping Mark Daigneault up at night most is who and why?
Boy. As I mentioned earlier, you can make a case for all of them. I guess if I'm going to default to one, and I'm surprising myself as I say this, I think it's the Lakers only because, Luka's a top 5 player, top 3 player potentially, was in the finals last season. The Lakers are flawed as a roster, right? Like they don't really have a center. You would not make the roster this way by choice. And I thought when they made the trade for Luka, it's the obvious thing to do, but it was for the long term, not to contend this season. So there are flaws in the roster, but Luka and LeBron together, I'll tell you what a coach told me a few weeks back when I was saying, how are they able to play defense at this level when Luka and LeBron are generally net negatives there? They don't have Anthony Davis or another center to man the back line. Like, how are they doing this? And the coach told me, don't overthink this. They have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. And I said, LeBron is top 5 right now? And the coach said, yeah, absolutely, he is. So, LeBron's got all those championship rings, all those playoff wins, all that experience. Luka's amazing. Just that 1-2 punch, almost no matter what else you had around them, would be scary. So I'll default to the Lakers on that answer.
Howard, thank you, my friend. Have an excellent weekend, and we will chat soon.
Thanks, Spence. You too. Talk to you next week.
All right, the great Howard Beck from The Ringer, one of my favorite writers for a long, long time. I always appreciate Howard's time. You can get him, I think he does most of his posting on Blue Sky now, so you can get him over there. The link to his Blue Sky is on his Twitter if you want to get weird. It's just at Howard Beck is where you find him. So I appreciate Howard's time. All right, we are out and about today. You can probably tell with the wind and, of course, the truck in the background. But it's a good opportunity for you to grab some high-quality steaks for extremely cheap. Homestead Steaks, they're offering 20 ribeyes for $40. That's right. And these are good quality steaks. I mean, I walked over and checked them out before he hopped on air today. So 20 ribeyes for $40. It's their weekend meat sale. And where we're at today is by Fashion Place Mall. So put this address in your GPS, follow it, and trust it. Because for a minute, you probably will not believe you're going in the right direction. But you are literally in the middle of a parking lot. It's 10450 South State Street, number 2320. 10450 South State Street, number 2320. 40 ribeyes for $40. Half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. It's the bulk family party pack to fill your freezer with New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments are accepted. Cash, credit, debit, and EBT. So come on by and check out our good friends out here at Homestead Steaks at 10450 South State Street, number 2320. All right, we still have a lot to do on the show. We still have about 2.5 hours left on the show today. We're going to bring in Chris Kamrani coming up on the other side. Richard Smith will be live on site coming up for an entire hour. So come on by and say what's up. But I want to tell you about my friends at IFA Country Stores. You're the yard work hero, aligner of edges, trimmer of hedges, and slayer of weeds. When it comes to your lawn, power moves are the only moves you make. That's why you just applied IFA's Crabgrass Preventer Plus Lawn Food for quick green up and long-lasting weed prevention. IFA's Crabgrass Preventer Plus Lawn Food, it's the ultimate lawn owner power move. Stop by one of the 18 Utah locations today or visit ifa.coop. Christopher Kamrani, our Friday staple, joins us coming up on the other side of a Friday drive right here on ESPN 700. 10450 South State Street, number 2320. We're out here with our friends at Homestead Steaks. 20 ribeyes for $40. It's their weekend meal deal. Locations at Fashion Place Mall, shops at Southtown, in Sandy, Provo Town Center Mall as well. 20 ribeyes for just $40. And they've got a bunch of deals on bulk for steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. And when I found out we were going to be out here at Homestead Steaks, I said to Porter, book me a guest that loves meat more than any other guest that we could possibly find. And purveyor of steaks, connoisseur of meats, Christopher Kamrani on a Friday afternoon. CK, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
Man, you went all the way to Sandy and didn't invite me. How dare you?
Don't you dare, Christopher. You know that you're welcome to roll wherever I'm at all times. There's no way you were making this drive. It's hard enough to get you downtown.
Yeah, when Porter told me that you were going to be on remote, and then, I don't know, man. I think this, now that the summertime is here, we can maybe make a couple special things happen. You know that at the 9th and 9th Smith, I'm always down. I've made a couple appearances there, but it's a little harder to get me to go to 104th, 105th South on State Street. But maybe one of these days, I don't know, man. Maybe one of these days I'll surprise you.
Well, I just felt like the offer of 20 ribeyes for $40 was going to be enough for a meat lover like you to roll out.
I just think of that scene from The Great Outdoors when John Candy has to eat the old 96er. And Dan Aykroyd tells the guy he's done. And the chef says he's not done yet. And Dan Aykroyd says there's nothing left on that plate but gristle and fat. Poor John. But he did it, man. He got all the kids the hats, and he got to eat the old 96er.
I was picking my moment. You were picking your nose. That is an underrated movie. That is an underrated classic John Candy movie. Since every week we've gone from Philip Seymour Hoffman to Ben Stiller, and then Val Kilmer, rest in peace. John Candy, rest in peace. Best John Candy movie. Is it Great Outdoors? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Probably Planes, Trains, but his character in Planes, Trains gives me so much anxiety. I think my favorite John Candy character of all time is Uncle Buck.
Okay.
When he makes the giant pancakes for Macaulay Culkin's birthday, when I saw that as a kid, I was like, dude, why isn't my uncle like Uncle Buck? Like, I wanted to go to the bowling alley and, hang out with guys who smoke cigarettes and drank really cheap beer and bowl, and wear the cool bowling shirts. Uncle Buck, by far, to me, is John Candy's best character, but best movie is Planes, Trains.
We also should throw out Spaceballs while we're talking John Candy movies. We probably should throw out Home Alone, since he was in Home Alone as well. But I think I agree with you as far as the best one, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And, of course, John Candy, phenomenal in that movie. When the first time I saw Steve Martin berate the woman behind the counter at the rental car shop, I was crying, laughing. Underrated movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Do you care to levy a guess what year that movie was released?
87.
You are so weirdly smart. How did you know that? Did you look it up?
I did not look it up, but fun, and this shouldn't be surprising, fun little trivia. The lady behind the counter who Steve undresses, who soon reciprocates and then undresses him, is the principal's secretary in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
She's an iconic 80s side character who always delivers.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Oh, man, now I'm thinking of great John Candy movies. That's why I love interviewing Chris Kamrani every single Friday. All right, give me your takeaways so far, first two rounds of the Masters, Chris.
I'm fascinated to see if Rory can keep it up, shooting a 66 today. I don't know. Scheffler just had that chip, a few holes ago.
So, all right, that's enough.
He's getting in the mix. My guy, though, I don't know if you remember who I picked, but my guy he's not wholly in the mix right now, but he's currently stalking the pack.
Who did you pick again? Remind me.
Morikawa.
That's right. Colin Morikawa. I'm impressed that you could just fake that you knew anything about what had happened so far. So well done, CK. All right, Chris, let me ask you about this dynamic. So, Jeff Goodman, who covers college basketball and one of the more plugged in. So, Jeff Goodman of college basketball is kind of like Shams to the NBA or kind of like Schefter to the NFL. Now, he's not at ESPN anymore, but he's one of the more plugged in college basketball media members, and he reports yesterday that Rob Wright, who is a point guard who played at Baylor last year and as a freshman had a really good year, had a really good game in Provo against BYU, had signed a $1 million deal to stay at Baylor for his sophomore season, but he has broke that agreement with Baylor to take what is now being reported as $3 million in NIL money from Brigham Young. Now, the complicated part, and I want to be fair here, and I want you to help us understand this because you're a journalist. We don't necessarily have ironclad data about these contracts. BYU is a private institution. We can't, file public records requests and get you information like we can with other schools. But the reports that are out there by people that report on college basketball consistently in a way that I don't is that A.J. Demance is getting $7 million for 5 months of basketball. Rob Wright's getting $3 million to play at BYU. They paid Yegor Devin 7 figures last year. They paid Cannon Catching 7 figures last year. Yegor is going to the NBA. Cannon is transferring. The reports are they want Richie Saunders back for a 7-figure deal. And there's a transfer, and it was reported today, Darion Williams, who played at Texas Tech last year, is really good and one of the top-rated transfer forwards, and he is a 7-figure player that is rumored now to be coming to BYU. That is not official. So the unofficial tally is in the neighborhood of $15 million for the 5 or 6 players that I just named to play for BYU and Kevin Young next year. What do you make of that? What's the take?
Well, as somebody who has spent quite a bit reporting on the world of NIL agents and NIL over the last couple of years, I will tell you and the listeners of The Drive that numbers that are thrown out there aren't always accurate or close to accurate. I don't know anything about this $3 million deal with Rob Wright and BYU, but I've been told by several people who would know that valuations that are posted on some websites are often nowhere near close to accurate. The world of NIL, Spence, is very tenuous. It's treacherous in that unless you get the player or the player's agent to show you the breakdown of the actual payment of the NIL deal, odds are numbers that are floated are going to be bloated more often than not.
Sure.
When it comes to BYU, I'm not surprised because we've seen that the support of the basketball program is allowing it to reach heights that it never has before. Obviously, it starts with A.J. Debanza. You're not going to get the number 1 recruit in the country, regardless of how much he likes J-Dogs and Kevin Young, without being able to open the checkbook. And frankly, it makes sense that they're going to continue to throw money at players that can potentially help BYU make a deeper run than the Cougars ever have before. They're going to build around AJ, who I would assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, will likely be only eating J-Dogs for 1 year before he decides to pursue his professional career. But yeah, I mean, to me, the most fascinating part of all this is the fact that we have BYU boosters who are wholly willing to back the basketball program while the football program is making strides, but is clearly nowhere near where the basketball program is. And it makes sense because the roster size in college basketball compared to college football, I mean, I know with the House settlement, we're going to potentially go from 105 to 85 or whatever. College basketball is 15. And the reality is you're probably not having to pay the last roster spots 12 to 15 anything, but it is a subplot that is developing that I find very interesting.
Some good stuff there. And the other thing that we probably should mention, because this has bred a lot of social media online back and forth from BYU fans and in BYU, I'll just say, I'm using air quotes, BYU media members. They're really not media members. They're employees of Brigham Young that are hired to propagate messaging from the actual school. It happens in pro sports now, too. You know, the in-house quote-unquote media where you don't get any truth. You just get the propagated message furthered from the front office to the masses and hope that enough people believe your BS. But, you know, you get this whole thing like BYU doesn't they don't want to be the highest bidder. You know, they want to be competitive. And, you know, these players are not coming to BYU for the money. They're coming to BYU because BYU's special and they want the experience. And, you know, 5 months of J-Dogs and 5 months of swig is not going to be enough to get anybody to live in Provo. But $7 million is, and so is $3 million. But there is a difference between the church and the school writing these checks and the boosters. So we probably should be clear on that, yes?
100%. And until we get a verified, you know, checklist breakdown of how things are supposed to operate, if there eventually is a set of rules in place, we're operating now under the assumption that BYU boosters are opening their checkbooks. It is not the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, just the same way at Notre Dame, it's not the Catholic Church that's helping Notre Dame land a bunch of really good football recruits under Marcus Freeman. It's just, this is the reality. And, yeah, I mean, I haven't really waded into that discourse all that much lately, to be honest with you. I'm doing my best to avoid the depths of despair that is social media. But, yes, we are accurate in saying that it is supported friends of the program, as my favorite basketball movie, Blue Chips, once referenced.
Indeed. Is NIL tithed? Do you need to pay tithing on NIL?
That's a great question. I should ask some people. Look at you, man. You're the sources. Real journalist.
You have sources. I need you to uncover this. Is NIL tithed?
I would assume that if it is part of your income, then yes, I would assume it is. But that's a great question. I will find out.
Look at you. I'm going to send a couple guys over to your house with a book that will change your life. All right. Oh, you referenced, and your points are very valid and fair about it's not a false equivalency to bring in the BYU football portion to this conversation. But to your point, simply the size of the rosters will change what you get per player. But the Salt Lake Tribune, our good friends over the Trib, Kevin Reynolds, did write a piece and did some reporting last year. The first meeting of BYU's season last year that was run by a fellow who works for the Royal Blue Collective, or runs it. His name is Min Kim. Sounds like an MLM bro. I don't know. But he had this meeting, and this is according to Isaiah Bogna, in addition to Crew Wakely. Now, Crew Wakely left Provo with a chip on his shoulder. Our guy has come out and used every opportunity to talk about promises to him that were not made. And you can go to the Trib and you can read the entire piece, but as a result of a rough year one in the Big 12, the Royal Blue Collective elected to cut the paychecks to these players, the NIL checks to these players. And I just have to wonder if you're, you know, a BYU football player, if you're Kalani, if you're A-Rod, if you're any of these guys, and they're online, they read things, and they see that the estimates are BYU basketball is now paying what's believed to be in the neighborhood of $15 million for 5 or 6 different players. I just wonder how that lands with Kalani. And look, they had a great year last year, so whatever they're doing obviously is bringing results. But what's your take on what I perceive to be a little bit of a different support on the basketball side as opposed to the football team?
Well, and the irony of it all, too, is that football undoubtedly makes the athletic department and the school way more money than basketball. And it's always going to be the case for a multitude of reasons, like LaVell Edwards Stadium seats, I don't know, 45, 50,000 more people than the Marriott Center does. And, you know, ticket sales, merch, all the stuff, the swigs, all that stuff goes into it. But yeah, no, I mean, it is a, like I said, it's an interesting subplot to a revival of a athletic department that just a few years ago was nowhere near where it is now on the revenue making sports, football and men's basketball. I would imagine publicly, Kalani would say what I would expect him to, and he would be very diplomatic and democratic about it. I don't know how he feels behind closed doors, but I know for a fact that if you're going to keep up, if you're going to keep pace in college football, you're going to have to pay the same way you do in college basketball. It's just harder because you're going to have to ask more people to pay more money because, simply put, the roster size is that much bigger. And I honestly don't know if Kalani's been asked this publicly in a scrum, kind of atmosphere. I wonder how he would. I know he would handle it fine, but it would be. I guess it would be interesting to see how he would handle it.
He actually has been asked this in a public setting by the host of The Drive, Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 at Big 12 Media Days. And this was CK, this was before the DeBanza stuff. This was when I was told what they were paying Kevin Young. And this is when the news came down about Yegor Demin and Kenan Catchings being seven-figure players. And I asked Kalani point blank, and when I asked him this, he gave me the North Shore Oahu poly look, like he was going to bury me into the ocean. But I asked him, I said, are you getting the same support the basketball team is getting? And he did handle it diplomatically. He handled it the way Kalani would. But I do wonder what he would say if asked off the record by somebody who could get the actual truth out of him. I can't imagine it sitting well. But ultimately, the bottom line is they're getting results, so I guess that's all that matters. On the other side of it, Chris, I just wonder how this is landing with the Utah Athletic Department and Utah boosters and powerful people that write checks for the U. I mean, I was told last year by somebody who I'll just say would know that BYU and this was last year, this could have changed, but at this point last year, I was told that BYU currently has 9 seven-figure donors, and Utah has 2. And it's not hard to figure out who the 2 are, okay? Their names are all over where you need them to be. And if you're Mark Harlan and if you're the Crimson Collective and you're looking down south and you're seeing these projections, what sort of reaction, pressure, whatever it is kind of seeping into your mindset to just be able to keep up with your rival that's not too far away from where you're at geographically?
Well, I mean, I think you have to take solace in the fact that you hired the guy that you believe can turn around the program that has been dormant for way too long, and you kind of have to go from there. And you have to operate under the assumption that that guy doesn't take that job if he wasn't guaranteed the allocated resources necessary in order to keep up with the folks in Provo. And I don't know. I would doubt that Utah eventually gets to the place where they're able to spend $7 million for the number one player in the country. I mean, I think when all is said and done, I think DeBanza will go down as an exception, not the rule. I don't think every player will be interested in wanting to come to Provo. Even though you can play for Kevin Young, who's knows Kevin Durant, and we've heard that whole spiel. But if you're Utah, you just have to, I don't know, man. It sounds very boring, but you kind of have to just entrust into Alex Jensen that he knows what he's doing and that he's going to be able to bring players into Salt Lake and be able to build a foundation that can turn the program around fast enough. But again, I don't think Alex takes the job without being guaranteed that he has at least a significant amount of NIL at his disposal, because in college basketball, and I mean, in any sport now, it matters, but I feel like in college basketball more than anything, if you invest heavily in a couple big hitters, you can get your program turned around fairly quickly.
I will not ask you another benign, mundane Utah football, spring football takeaway question, but we did have Morgan Scally on the show this week, and we caught up with Morgan about all the kind of spring football happenings and storylines and, ultimately what they're hoping to accomplish. I wonder what you think Morgan's current patience level is, and whether or not you think he's chomping at the bit to take over as head coach.
I didn't listen to the interview, so I don't
Thank you.
know
Appreciate
if
it.
he
That's awesome.
if
Way to
he.
go. Good friend. Supporting your good
Well,
friend's work. Thanks,
you're
Chris.
better you're a better journalist than I am, so I would assume that you asked him point blank the same way you asked Kalani point blank, and I'll get to it after this phone
Okay.
call. But um, I don't. I would assume that Morgan understands that it's, you know, just around the corner. I mean, we've been talking about Kyle hanging it up now for the past 5 years, and every year he seems to surprise us. Now, a lot of that has to do with the success and the apex that they reached during the end of the Pac-12 era. But I don't know, man. If you're guaranteed a head coaching job in the Big 12, I think that, especially at a school that you have so much invested in and know so well, in a community you're so invested in and know so well, I think just having to sit and wait and buy your time a little bit is a lot easier than, chasing a carrot that might be dangled out in front of you. Now, I don't think that's the case. I know when, Lincoln Riley was interested in hiring Morgan to be the USC defensive coordinator a couple years ago, like Morgan, if he would have taken that job, would have been the USC defensive coordinator. Here at Utah, he's the Utah defensive coordinator, and he's the coach in waiting. And the coach ahead of him is not 43 years old like Lincoln Riley is or whatever. He just turned 65. So I think, Morgan kind of has the ability to build and mold the defensive side of the roster as he sees fit. I think he's earned that right. And he's doing it under a guy that he cut his teeth under. And, I think if you ever wanted to get into the X's and O's, minutia of it all, I mean, Morgan's defense is Fred Whittingham's defense. And he would be the first one to tell you that, the same way Kyle would be the first one to tell you that that's how his defense was built too. So that's a very long-winded way of saying I don't think Morgan is probably antsy at this point.
All right, last thing, and I'll set you loose. I was speaking with somebody today, and I will tell you who after our interview's over. I'll leave the name off air. And I asked him, I said, I'm told that this announcement about the Miller family taking over, and look, we still have to wait as far as what the details are. What we are anticipating is this means Ryan Smith is exiting stage left. And the Blitzer group will maintain whatever control they maintain. And Scott Crace, Dave Blitzer's ownership rep, will continue to be the director of whatever he is, kind of overseeing the entire thing as Dave Blitzer's kind of eyes and ears here on the ground in Salt Lake. But I asked him, I said, this feels like it's good news in a lot of ways for people that are over with the club. And this person said to me, I don't think this is really going to change very much. And it just kind of made me think about all the ownership transitions over the years, obviously starting with my father to Deloy, and then Deloy to this current iteration of RSL's ownership, and now the fourth change in 20 years where the Miller family will step in. And I just wonder what you anticipate based off of your knowledge of the way MLS works, the way RSL operates, and your knowledge of the way the Miller family likes to do their business.
Well, we have to start with the fact that the Millers are going to be running and bankrolling a club in a league that is nothing really close to what the Jazz are in the NBA, meaning that they can invest money in both in RSL and the Royals, as they should, and as I've been told they plan on doing. But I've also been told that the day-to-day type stuff is not going to change at the level it did from the last ownership transition. And obviously the last ownership transition was under pretty extreme circumstances, being run by the league for, I think it was over a year at that point. And it was pretty dire over there for a while. That's not going to be the case once this ownership sale takes place. But hey man, the Millers know what they're doing. They have a lot of money. They are not lacking in money when it comes to, the movie theaters, the dealerships. Can't remember what the number was when they sold off a lot of their dealerships, but I think it ended up starting with the B, not the M.
Yeah, I think it was $6 billion.
Yeah. So, and they're riding high off of, opening this new B stadium at Daybreak. And I think that, as I've been told, they plan on investing into the rosters of these teams. And that's, at the end of the day, man, I can't just. I mean, I'll just say it on the show. The Drive, Monday through Friday, 2 to 6, every single week. Like 90% of fans care about the product on the field. They could give, you know what, about the J Dogs and the concessions and the free Wi-Fi and all this other stuff. If you invest in a team that's fun to watch and wins games, your fans will come, and they will come in droves. And what I've been told is that the Millers plan on allocating the necessary amount of resources into doing that to both of these teams.
Well, only time will tell, my friend. You want me to grab you some ribeyes before I get out of here?
They got me.
Say that again. You broke up. Chris? We lost him. All right, speaking of ribeyes, you guys have a chance to come out here and buy 20 ribeyes for only $40, okay? So we are out at 10450 South State Street, number 2320. It's 10450 South State Street, number 2320. We're out here in support of our friends at Homestead Steaks. I'm telling you, it is a great deal. I went over and looked at their steak box. They walked me through everything they have. 20 ribeyes for $40, $2 a piece per steak. Half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. They've got the bulk family party packs to fill your freezer with New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments accepted, cash, credit, debit, and EBT. So come on by. Like I said, the best thing to do is to put this address in your GPS and follow it out. You might think that you're lost for a minute, but just keep going. That's a good life lesson. Write that down. 10450 South State Street, number 2320, with our friends out here. So come on by to support Homestead Steaks. Before we catch a break, the weather's warm now, and so you need to start thinking about your lawn. IFA Country Stores can help you out. You are the yard work hero, the aligner of edges, the trimmer of hedges, and the slayer of weeds. When it comes to your lawn, power moves are the only moves that you need to make. That's why you just applied IFA's Crabgrass Preventer plus their lawn food. For a quick green up and long-lasting weed prevention, IFA's Crabgrass Preventer plus their lawn food is the ultimate lawn owner power move. Stop by one of the 18 Utah locations today or visit ifa.coop. All right, we got 2 hours down. We got 2 hours to go. We'll give you a Masters update, the leaderboard coming up on the other side of a break. But some news out of Utah basketball today that Martin Schiller has been hired as one of Alex Jensen's assistant coaches. Richard Smith, I guarantee, knows him, so we'll get with Smitty's take coming up on the other side. Richard Smith live on site for an entire hour. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. All right, we are live on site today at 10450 South State Street in support of our good friends who are selling you high-quality steaks. Homestead Steaks is the client today. 20 ribeye steaks for only $40. It's their weekend meat sale. Fashion Place Mall in Murray, South Shops at Southtown Sandy, Provo Town Center Mall as well. They're open until 8 o'clock tonight, and they're going to reopen tomorrow at 10 a.m., and they go to 8 p.m. Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. 20 ribeyes for just $40, and they've got a bunch of other great deals. They've got bulk deals for steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood, bulk family party packs to fill your freezer with New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments accepted. Cash, credit, debit, and EBT. So come on out and say hi. It's 10450 South State Street, number 2320. And we have a celebrity sighting live on site. Richard Smith. Smitty, 40 years with Utah Jazz. Did you have any trouble finding this vacant parking lot?
No, Spence, this is the thing. We're telling the listeners, you come down State Street, you get around 104 South, you look for the Ethan Allen building, we're right behind that. All right? That's the address, what suite we're in, whatever. You know, people are going to be driving around all over the place. I just happen to come behind the Ethan Allen building, and look at there's an ESPN tent in the middle of a nowhere parking lot. I wonder what that's doing out there. And I come over, and here's Spence Checketts out in the natural wind, the sun, doing his job for America, next to the Thermo King truck with all the $2 strip steaks. What could be better in this land of America?
Well said. I mean, you know me. I'm just a hardworking man of the people.
And I expected nothing less. I said, I looked from 3 miles away, and I could see this tent, and I go, I'll bet Spence is underneath that tent, just braving the elements for the listening pleasure of the Utah sports fan. What a guy.
And that's what I'm trying to do. The tent is doing us no good because the wind is blowing no matter what. The truck is on the background because they have to refrigerate the meat. So we're dealing with some elements today, Smitty. But nonetheless, we traverse on.
This is great.
Great to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
A lot to do
Hey,
with
wait a
you
minute.
today.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
You just did, so go ahead.
What's, by the way, I've never met Chris Kamrani.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great guy.
He is the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's his deal? He can't get in the car and come out and see you on a live.
It's a fair question and one that I posed to him. He does have a 2-year-old son.
Okay.
His wife is a school teacher.
Okay.
And she's the best. These are salt of the earth people, some of my favorite people on the planet. And when she's teaching in school, Chris has to take care of the kids.
Okay, that's fair enough, because it sounded like a Scott Layden type of excuse that I don't go anywhere past 21st South. So if it's past 21st South, it might as well be in Arizona, because I don't know where it is.
I've got to say, Scotty and I have that in common. I extended to 33rd because one of my best friends lives on 33rd. But if I had my druthers, I would not go south of 33rd, and certainly I wouldn't go north of the Capitol.
Look at this. Oh, look. Hey, I'm going to tell you, right up the street from here, and this is a plug that I don't know why, but this right up the street here on State Street, about 100 South, is one of my new favorite places to eat. Dolly's salad bar. It's like a version of Sweet Tomatoes. If you remember Sweet Tomatoes,
of course.
They're in the same Sweet Tomatoes spot. Great fresh salad bar. Really high quality stuff. I love it. My wife and I go there frequently, and we live in town. We live near Sugar House Park.
Yeah.
We come out here frequently just to go to Dolly's. And anybody who's looking for a good salad option for lunch or an early dinner, what a place that is. I give them a plug. I get nothing out of it, but it's just my contribution to this radio program.
No, we appreciate that. How is our guy, Scotty Layden?
He is doing good. You know, he works for the Sacramento Kings. He's working as their director of East Coast Pro Scouting, so he gets to do a lot of the work he does on the train that you're familiar with, Spence, going anywhere along the East Coast, from Boston all the way down to D.C. He lives in New York City, so he gets on the train, goes to the Philly games, gets on the train, goes to the Celtic games, does his work, usually can get home the same night, and he's enjoying it, loves it. Just had, the other day, his third grandchild by his oldest daughter,
Very
Sarah,
nice.
who's
Love
they're
Sarah.
excited, a little baby girl.
That's great.
And he was showing me new pictures of her today, and he's a proud grandpa.
Very nice. All right, I've got a bunch of stuff I want to get to with you, and since we were just talking about Scott Layden, and of course the Laydens are Utah royalty, Jazz royalty. There is a new era of Jazz basketball, both on the floor and off the floor, and Dan Roberts, 46 years, nearly 2,200 games, has been he's retiring. We'll just leave it at that. Jazz honored him the other night. His final game will be tonight. And I don't know who's left. Our guy Travis Henderson, of course, Big T. Bowler's been there forever. But Dan feels like one of the final pieces of Jazz past being ripped away from us. And if you're of a certain age, and like you or like me, I mean, Jazz basketball, I really don't have a memory of life that doesn't include some form of the NBA, and the Jazz were part of my life when I was a kid, and I still, to this day, badly want to see people over there I like succeed and have them do well. But bring them on. How about this Jazz? Dan is one of the best to ever do it in the entire history of pro basketball, and this is it for him. I wonder what your takeaways are from that.
Very, very tearful. I was at the game the other night when they honored him, and rightfully so. He's just a great voice in the arena. He's a great recognizable voice for Jazz basketball. The fact that he's leaving leaves just a few people, and the guy probably still at the top of the mountain at the moment is Ron Boone.
Yes,
because Ron Boone was a player.
Yeah, that's right.
And then came back as a broadcaster, and Booner, I don't know if what his situation is going forward after the broadcasts this weekend, but he's still there, and Dan Roberts, had a lot of great video tributes by former players who they got on camera, to say thanks Dan, and rightfully so. He's really a great person, nice family, really loves the Jazz, and the fact that they honored him was very nice for them to do in that regard. And I know it touched his heart at the same time. I know it's a tough deal for him, feeling like he's taking himself out of the mix of something that he's done for almost half a century.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a great run by him, and we love Dan and his family, and we wish him nothing but the best.
So Alex Jensen made a hire today of a coach that you know, and we'll do that in our second segment. Since we're talking Jazz, let's just stick with a little Jazz and a little NBA, and we'll get to some NBA storylines in a moment. This Kyle Filipowski storyline, as Markkanen's been sitting and Kessler's been sitting and John Collins has been sitting incrementally. They've been resting most of their veteran front court players.
Are they hurt? Are those guys been hurt?
Come on, man. Man.
They're resting them for...
Come on, man.
For what?
For Cooper Flag.
They're resting for Cooper Flag.
Right.
Oh.
Come on, man. We know the deal. Don't play with me. I don't like it either. It is what it is. But we know the deal. We know what time it is. We know what they're doing. They're not fooling anybody. No matter what they say. As I always say, judge people off of actions, not words. But incrementally sitting all their veteran front court players has opened up a lot of minutes for Kyle. And I always go back and forth with this because I've seen so many teams over the years that are unserious about winning. And those teams that are unserious about winning still have minutes that need to be filled. They still have shots that need to be taken. They still have usage. So I always go back to like Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who for years was like 22-12 for Vancouver. And I always wonder, like, is he awesome or are they horrible and they just need somebody to score? But some of Kyle's stat lines, namely the other night against Portland, are pretty eye-popping. From your vantage point, what have you seen from them that you think is real? Do you think the Jazz may have something in Kyle Filipowski?
Yeah, well, what he's shown to me, a couple things, Spence. One is a versatility that he has. He can go in and make plays. He has good footwork, so he can get around the mid-post. He can make some plays around the basket. He can also step out and shoot, or even actually, for a guy his size, put it on the floor, 1 or 2 dribbles, and get something to get an advantage. I like the flow he plays with. I like some of the energy that he looks like he brings to the floor. The tough part about these kinds of games is always the fact that those guys who are playing, they know what the deal is, like in this situation where the Jazz really aren't playing meaningful games to try and win. It's all under the guise of player development. Okay, that's what you want to roll with. But the tougher part of it is that the players know that there are very little consequences, very few consequences, I should say, to how they play, because they know the team isn't going to be upset. The general manager's not going to be upset. The owner's not going to be upset if you lose the game. And so they're going to tell them you took a bad shot, or you should have made this decision with the ball, or you didn't get over the screen, or whatever it is. But in the middle of playing the game, the players really, in the back of their minds, they know there's really no real consequences to whether I play well or play badly. So, they're not playing meaningful games. And when you're not playing games that count towards something, then it's hard sometimes to try and gauge what that player would actually do if there was pressure on the line, and if there if you were playing for the 6th position in the playoffs and you don't want to get in the play-in, or you're playing for the 10th position in the play-in and you're trying to get in just so you don't miss the playoffs. Your pressure games that mean something, that really add to the fabric of an individual player's game. So that's the hard part, is because these games, these are just live scrimmages. The game with Portland the other night, I was there. I got to tell you, neither team cared about being there. They were both running up and down, throwing up shots. It's not an NBA game. I felt badly just for people who came and took their time and spent their money for all the things that are involved in doing that, right? Getting a sitter if you're bringing your family, playing for parking, the price of the tickets, getting a hot dog or a drink or whatever it is. Those things add up, and yet they're watching, what really amounts to a summer league scrimmage, and that's too bad. It's too bad for the fans, but the players are getting playing time. Is it meaningful? That's hard to say. The only way it's meaningful is if they're being held accountable behind the scenes by the coaching staff in terms of what they do and how they assess the film the next day, and that's a tough thing to try and gauge. So are they meaningful? I don't think so personally, but seeing someone like Filipowski, what it does in one level is at least shows you some of the things he's capable of physically. So now we need to get him into games that matter, games that mean something, and then we see how he reacts in those kinds of situations.
Bingo. And that's where I want to move over to next, because I've got a lot of friends like you that love the Jazz, and I've got a lot of friends like you that have been spoiled by the success of the Jazz. I know never a championship, but as we've discussed throughout the past few years since you started joining us consistently, the ability of Frank and Scotty to pivot quickly, the ability of Kevin O'Connor to pivot quickly and Dennis Lindsay to pivot quickly. Were there down years? Sure. Ty's last year, Quinn's first year. A couple of years after John and Carl left, when Jerry coached the hell out of a team with not a lot of talent. Yes, there have been lean years. There's never been anything like this. It's the first team in 50 years of Jazz basketball to lose more than 60 games. And it is the first time they have been front-facing about just not trying at all. So whenever I talk to my friends, they'll watch the other night, hey, Keontae had a couple shots in overtime. That's and they got a win. Yeah, that's great. Good. I'm sure a win is a breath of fresh air for competitors who have been bred to win and have been having their doors blown off every single night. But what I always say to them is I don't know what Keontae's game looks like when a team is serious about winning. I don't know who Kyle Filipowski is for a team that actually is trying to compete in NBA basketball. So whether it's Filipowski or Sensabaugh or Keontae or Cody, what are the challenges of analyzing this group to try to understand what's real with these young players when they're serious again?
Yeah, well, that's a big mountain to climb, because you don't know until you get them on the floor in meaningful games. So, these are all, to me, this is my opinion, my perspective, having been involved in it for a lot of years. These guys are just in, organized scrimmages, because again, there's I don't know what the accountability level is individually with them. I'm sure the coaches talk to them about trying to improve their games and improve their, the things decision making, or shot taking, whatever it is. But the organization doesn't really care whether they're winning or not. In fact, they'd rather they'd lose, because of the whole tank approach that they've taken to this. So in that regard, it's hard for anybody to figure out, can Keontae George be a Lou Williams / Vinnie Johnson / Jamal Crawford type of guy in a meaningful team where he comes off the bench and can get you, a quick 8 points in 3 minutes and be kind of a spark plug guy in games that mean something. Because when you're these teams that are fighting, for playoff spots or fighting for playoff positioning, every game this time of year, we always used to talk about games spent the last 6, 7, 8 games of a regular season, unless you were like Oklahoma City this year, which is run out and hid from everybody and nobody can see them. They're so far ahead of the race. But all these other teams, the other day I looked at it, and I didn't look at it today, so I don't know what, I know it's almost the same, but 5 teams in the West between spots number 4 and 8 all had, at that day I looked at it, 32 losses. And the losses we always look at this time of year, because those are games you can't get back.
Right.
If you're behind a game in the win column, you can make that up by going out and winning your next game. But if you're behind in the loss column, you got to hope you get some help from somebody, if the teams are in front of you. But the other day when I looked at it, 5 teams all had 32 losses. So that meant those teams are jockeying in the last 3 or 4 games of the regular season, not only for playoff positioning in the top 6, but also to stay out of the play-in situation, right? And so because of that, for those teams, the playoffs have already started.
Right.
They started last week, because every game they're playing is meaningful. Every game, does something to their team in the standings and means something to what's going to happen to them when playoff time starts. The games that the Jazz are playing and the minutes the players are getting, how much can it transfer to those kinds of games down the road? It's always difficult to say that. But you got to have some base to start from. So if this is the way that the Jazz have chosen to go, which obviously it is, then they're going to throw these young guys out there. They're going to let them trip over themselves. They're going to let them take bad shots. They're going to let them throw the ball away into the third row, whatever. And then they're going to try and coach them up and try and get them better during the summer. But nothing is going to fill the void of playing meaningful games until they get to that point. And that's the hard part about judging where the individual talents of these players lies.
2 games left. OKC tonight. I don't know exactly who's going to play and who's not. OKC's injury report right now looks like this: no Jalen Williams, no Cason Wallace, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Lute Dort. For the Jazz, no Walker Kessler, no John Collins, Isaiah Collier's game time, Elijah Harkless, KJ Martin are out. I don't know if Markkanen going to play. It's just the issue talking about this stuff because it's so hard to watch. Before we catch a break, one more NBA storyline I wanted to get to with you, because look, I wasn't in Taylor Jenkins' locker room. Wasn't in Michael Malone's locker room. I'm stunned. And as you know, Michael Malone was an assistant in New York. His father was an assistant for Jeff. You get to know the family, and yes, old school, a little bit of maybe an abrasive approach. Maybe modern day players don't like that. He won a championship 2 years ago, and I know that doesn't matter. Ask Frank Vogel, ask Mike Budenholzer. We could keep going.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. I'm old enough to remember when you were really good at your job. You got to keep it. and now we have two really good coaches losing their jobs for playoff teams days before the playoffs start. What do you make of this?
Well, this goes to show you, Spence, that it's hard to figure out exactly how you would want to build something and then be able to sustain it. When you look at the championship coaches in the NBA, 4 of the last 6 NBA championship coaches starting in 2019 are no longer with the team that they led to an NBA championship. They've all gotten let go by the team within a couple of years of winning the championship. Yeah. So, what does that mean? I know, Michael Malone, I know him some. I wouldn't say he's a, quote, friend of mine, but I do know him. And we've done a couple of NBA camps together overseas in the summer times. Michael's very, knowledgeable, obviously knows what he's doing. Winningest coach in Denver Nugget history. But he can be an abrasive guy. He's a fun guy. He's a smart guy. But, he has a little bit of that New York, attitude of, hey, you guys, if you're not doing it right, I'm going to come right at you, right in your face and get after it. And I'm just guessing, I don't know because I'm not there, that maybe that was starting to wear on players. Maybe that was starting to wear on the ownership. Maybe they wanted to give some kind of a spark to the team before the playoffs. I don't know. Sometimes those things are short-circuited. But hey, in the same vein, Spence, you got to flip the card to the other side and recognize that Michael Malone, in his case, just as an individual, supposedly got in a contract extension that doesn't start till next year, where he's making in the neighborhood of $12 million a year for the next couple of years. And so they were willing, the team obviously was willing to give up that kind of money to just send somebody home.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, if it's anywhere in that ballpark, then you have to look at the decision being made saying, well, I guess it was really, really a tough deal and really a lot of problems going on that maybe we're not aware of that caused an ownership group to make that kind of a decision from a financial standpoint that they felt they had to do to save this season and whatever they think they're going to be able to do in the playoffs, and the Taylor Jenkins thing, same thing, a winning coach, a smart guy, they let him go. Is it a player thing? You don't really know. Those kind of things, when they happen to me, more often than not, it's not about the basketball. It's not about the X's and O's. More often, it's something behind closed doors, a personality scuffle, or somebody doesn't like what somebody said in a meeting, or something got out of hand. Somebody's not giving space, and they're not relenting to someone else's ideas or direction or what have you, and so it becomes a philosophical tug of war. And then at some point, ownership has to figure out, how am I going to deal with this in this business setting, which oftentimes ends up being something like this. Now, sometimes the owner goes, okay, no, I got the coach's back, and I'm going to get rid of the players if that's the deal. So I'm going to trade players or whatever. But more often than not, it's some kind of personality issue that has entered the fray that the ownership group just feels, we can't figure this out, so we got to make some kind of a move.
Before we catch a break, and we need to, so we're going to, you just sparked something in my mind that I don't think I've ever asked you. And ultimately it doesn't matter because it's revisionist history. But you reference ownership at times siding with a coach and moving on from the players. Was there ever any messaging to Jerry Sloan? Like, we'll trade him, we'll get rid of him, we want you to stay. Because they ended up trading Darren anyway. But, the whole Darren Jerry thing cost the Jazz their beloved head coach and their franchise player. Did anybody try to get ahead? And look, when if Jerry makes up his mind, he's going to do his thing. But did anybody, Kevin or Gail, just say, look, take a beat here. We're going to trade him. If it's this bad, we'll get rid of him because we want you to stay.
Well, I can tell you that what happened over the years, and this was not a lot, but it happened, a handful of times over the years when you were in a rough patch, like the Denver Nuggets, had lost 4 games in a row before they won the other night after the change they made. The team would be in a rough patch. Jerry might, bristle at something, one of the players is doing or saying, and they get into a little scuffle and a heated argument in a pregame meeting or a practice meeting or something like that. And Jerry would say to them, hey, listen, we can't get this worked out. We will figure it out some other way. And the other way is probably not going to include you, because I am going to be here tomorrow, and the owner, referencing Larry at that time, the owner has my back, and I can tell you that. So if you don't want to get on board with what we're trying to figure out here, then we'll figure it out. But when we figure it out, it's probably not going to include you because you're going to be gone.
I see.
And so that took place, a handful of times over the years, just so the players understood if they were feeling their oats and they thought, yeah, I'm the guy around here. Yeah, I run the show here, whatever. Jerry would quickly go, okay, we're going to make sure we all understand who runs the show here.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what you need. That's what you need in an organization. You need the head coach to be firmly in charge, but the head coach has to know that the ownership has his back, because if it gets to a push and shove deal, then he knows, how the owner is going to react. And that's key if you want to have stability in your organization.
For sure. All right. The 89th player playing of the Masters tournament at Augusta, Georgia. We'll give you a leaderboard update coming up in a bit, but I will tell you that Tony needs a birdie in his final 3 holes to make the cut. Tony's at 3 over right now. He's through 15. So 3 holes left for Tony, and the cut line is 2 over. So Tony needs a birdie, final 3 holes, or else he's not playing the weekend. We'll give you a complete update coming up in a bit, but we are live on site today. You can hear the wind and the truck in the background. We're selling steaks, Homestead Steaks, 20 ribeyes for only $40. They've got a bunch of locations: Fashion Place Mall in Murray, the shops at Southtown and Sandy, Provo Town Center Mall as well. We are at 10450 South State Street, number 2320. Easiest thing to do is just put that in the GPS, then follow it. Look for the ESPN 700 van, and then come on out and check out this great deal at 10450 South State Street. Number 2320 here in Sandy with our friends at Homestead Steaks. 20 ribeyes for $40. They've got half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. Bulk family party packs to fill your freezers. With New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments are accepted. Cash, credit, debit, and EBT. Alex Jensen made a hire today, and Richard Smith knows the man. We'll talk about Martin Schiller coming up on the other side right here on ESPN 700. How do you like 20 ribeyes for $40? How about a box of beef, baby?
There we go.
Come on out and say what's up. Homestead Steaks. Porter, you're rolling out here. You're grabbing 20 ribeyes for $40, yeah?
I'm gonna find my way there. If not tonight, of course they'll be there tomorrow. They'll be there a little bit on Sunday. Definitely taking advantage of that deal though.
Gotta love it. 20 ribeyes for $40 with our friends at Homestead Steaks. They're sending me home with a box of beef, so I'm excited for that.
Wow.
Crazy half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. Bulk family party packs to fill your freezer with New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments accepted, cash, credit, debit, and EBT. A box of beef out here, Smitty.
Spence, now how does the guy get in on the action where, when the truck pulls out of the lot, the box of beef falls off the back of the truck? Is that
like straight Goodfellas stuff?
Yeah, is that stuff that we can get in on somehow here?
Well, ask my guy Andrew over there. Maybe he'll send you home with a box of beef.
We have to wait till after midnight or something?
So my way of describing where we're at is 10450 South State Street, number 2320. What's your way of describing where we're at?
See, you lost people already. Number 232. Like it's
you got to put it in the GPS.
Like
Smitty, it's not 1950. We have phones. Put that address in your GPS and follow it.
I'm arguing with Spence off the air that, Spence, just tell the people to cruise down State Street. When you get about 104 South, you look for the Ethan Allen building on the west side of the street. Just go behind that. Boom, you'll see our tent. Now, it's there's not a lot of room here, so it's a little tight behind here because we're in this parking lot, and I'm looking around. There's nobody within 3 miles on either side of us. But okay. Hopefully you can find the tent in that vast parking lot.
Sure, and I don't want to disparage anybody who's trying to make a living in commerce. My whole point of contention was, when's the last time anybody made an intentional trip to Ethan Allen?
Hey, see that? There's a guy spoken like who's never had to go and buy some living room furniture that really meant something.
No, I'm all RC Willie, baby.
No, you're like the guy's garage sale down the end of the corner.
Hey, I like a good deal.
Who's putting the bed frame out there for $5? Yeah, that'll work.
I like a good deal.
I'll figure that out.
I'm telling you, RC Willie rules. None of these places are sponsors on the show, so let's not.
No, I
anymore.
got you. Hey, I get it. But this is Southtown Mall, though. This area is really a high commerce area. There's a lot of stores around this whole area, which I know is a big. My wife Linda, her dad had an opportunity. This is going way back, to buy some land out in this area, okay, when it was undeveloped, and he passed on it at that time. It's a favorite family story. He passed on like, nah, nobody goes out there. That's just out in the middle of nowhere, whatever. Well, the land he passed on buying so many years ago is now where the Sandy City Hall sits.
Oh. That is rough, man. That is rough. Well, we've had some nice listeners roll out and take advantage of this deal. So if you're looking for a cheap way to feed the family with high-quality meat, this is the way to do it. 20 ribeyes for $40. You can take the Smitty route, which is go find Ethan Allen, then check us out. Or you can do what normal people do and put this address in your phone. 10450 South State Street, number 2320.
There you go, yes. And you, too, can find us in the parking lot and get your own box of beef.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Smitty. Alex Jensen made a hire today, and you've been very helpful for us throughout this process because you worked with Al for 9 years with the Jazz. And while you were at the Jazz, a man named Martin Schiller was the head coach of the Salt Lake City Stars. Like Alex, Martin was a G League Coach of the Year. D League for Alex back in the day, G League now. International ties all over the place. This feels like a very good, exciting hire for the Utah coaching staff. Tell us about Martin Schiller. What should we know?
Well, Martin Schiller, has roots in the German basketball community. He's a member of the German. He has been a member of the German national team coaching staff. That's where he and Alex met, because Alex Jensen has also served a number of stints on the German national coaching team for their men's basketball program. But from 2017 to 2020, for 3 seasons, Martin was the head coach of the Salt Lake City Stars. Then COVID hit, and then the way the G League was going, he went and pursued a couple of opportunities to coach over in Europe. He coached Zalgiris Kaunas for a year, which is one of the top EuroLeague teams in Lithuania. And he's been coaching the last couple of years and had a stint in Spain, was coaching in Germany. But he's two things. One, a very good basketball tactician. He's very organized. He's very, very how would I say, dense in what works in X's and O's, both ends of the floor. Very exacting with the players to do it the way we're trying to teach you to do it. So he'll be one of those guys in practice who will really be holding players' feet to the fire to get it the right way, which was a big deal with Rick Majerus
for sure
all those years ago.
For sure.
And so Martin has that skill set in his back pocket. And then the other thing I believe he would bring is because of all of his European ties, he would really have an insight into the youth European basketball community when it comes to recruiting and getting guys like Yegor Demin and whoever else is coming over. The Jakachunas kid from Illinois, who's going to be a top 10 pick probably. These kind of young European players who may want to come to the NCAA for a year or two if they think they're NBA level guys and could get some seasoning playing at this level. Martin would be a main point guy to identify who those guys are and if they would be able to fit in the University of Utah men's basketball program.
So what we have now, the problem with trying to analyze who Utah basketball will be next year is we only know Keanu Dawes is coming back, and then the FDU transfer, Terrence Brown. I believe is his name, who was a 20-plus per night scorer, but in the Northeast Conference, all due respect to my home footprint, shout out Central Connecticut.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Blue Devils.
Yeah, I'm not knocking on the conference. I'm just wondering what a 20-point-a-night guy in the Northeast Conference looks like in the Big 12.
Yep.
But we only know they have two players, Smitty. So what we do know now, Rafael Chilius hired as the lead assistant. Donnie Daniels' son, Eric Daniels, hired from Utah State. Martin Schiller, and then Wes Wilcox is the GM. So before we move on, what do you make of now this just overall the staff that's in place as of now? What would you say about that?
So Eric Daniels, a young coach who has roots here in Utah, will help in the recruiting of the in-state kids. He's worked at Utah Valley. He's worked at Weber State. He's worked at Utah State. And now he's at the U, where his dad served a couple different stints. And so he has the ties to the Utah basketball community to try and figure out who the top high school kids are here and the kids that he's been in touch with for many years in the various roles he's had at the local colleges. So he'll be helpful in that regard in the local scene. And he's just a good, young, energetic type guy. So you're getting guys who have ties to the U program, but also have the background where they can get in the doors to kids that the U may be wanting to look at to add to their team.
Do you like the way Alex is going about his business?
Well, it seems like he has a dedicated approach. It seems like he's getting guys who he's going to feel comfortable with, that know how he wants to be able to set the program up. So that's the interesting thing, is that he's not rushing into it. You didn't see a thing a week after he's hired where, here's my coaching staff of 7 guys or whatever, and all these guys that, people have been coming at him, I'm sure, left and right, the moment it got out that he was getting the job. And, he's taking his time. He's still finishing up as an assistant coach with the Dallas Mavericks. And he understands that this isn't about the short term, let's win the press conference on Tuesday kind of deal. This is about setting up a group in place that's going to make sense for the long haul of our program. And these kind of hires he's been making both on the coaching staff and then with Wes Wilcox overseeing things from the front office perspective, make a lot of sense. And you can tell this is an Alex Jensen type approach. Regimented, diligent, take your time, make sure you know what you're doing, and then execute it.
Are you surprised? Now, to your point, Martin Schiller was here as the G League coach. Eric Daniels has Utah ties. But the conversation immediately, and we had some former Utes like come on the show and like beg for jobs, but the conversation immediately after Alex's hire was, okay, Andre Miller's next. And then ex-Ute player here. And ex-Ute, are you surprised that we haven't seen any of that?
No, I'm not surprised. Those are just, fans who are, flashing back to 20 and 30 years ago and, just want to live in the past. There was a when we first started the D League at that time, developmental league for the NBA, down in Orem. When we started the Utah Flash, the owner Brant Anderson, who was down there at the time.
There's a throwback.
And Brant was really the predecessor to Ryan Smith. Mm-hmm. He was the original, if you will, local version of Ryan Smith. He wanted to own an NBA team. He had the resources at that time as a 29-year-old to do so, called the NBA, tried to find out, hey, could I buy a team? Found out it doesn't work like that. They moved him on to the guys running the D League, says, we could talk about a potential expansion team there, which ended up happening with the Utah Flash that was in Orem for 3 years. But Brant, right out of the gate, had the same kind of mindset where he was so blue with BYU that everybody he mentioned in terms of the hiring and startup process on the basketball side were all BYU guys.
Yep.
Hey, let's get. I think we should hire Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge was the head of the Boston Celtics at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's get Danny Ainge, and then let's get Fred Roberts. Let's get Devin Durant.
Greg Kite?
And then we can get. Yeah. No, I mean, he threw out every BYU basketball guy from the 80s, and we had to kind of talk him off the ledge a little bit. Brant doesn't quite work like that. You need guys who know what they're doing in the respective roles and whatnot. And look, when you see what Alex is doing, you got an Eric Daniels who has his footprint all over and embedded in the Utah high school scene. You got Rafael Chilius, who knows the national scene, has been doing that for a long time. And you've got Martin Schiller, who knows the European scene. So you can see how these pieces to the puzzle are starting to fit and get together. And I'm sure that's all by design of Alex to figure out where are the holes that we need to fill and how we're going to go about doing it.
And you have Wes Wilcox as the general manager, and also news broke today that Rico Sylvester Jr. has been named the director of operations and player personnel for the Runnin' Utes. All right, Smitty, before we catch a break and I set you loose, you reference Martin's ties in Europe, and I just wonder what sort of angle that Alex and the coaching staff will have to add talent if they're not given the same resources that some of the other schools are given, namely a school that's about 35 miles south of us right now in Brigham Young. Jeff Goodman, who's kind of a college basketball newsbreaker and a very plugged-in college basketball journalist, reports yesterday that Rob Wright, a really talented freshman point guard from Baylor, who had a really good game in Provo this year for the Baylor Bears, had signed a $1 million deal to stay at Baylor, but he has decided to remove himself from that deal and sign a deal with BYU that, according to Jeff Goodman, is worth $3 million next year to play for Kevin Young. Whenever I talk about this stuff, I know that we've got to be careful because BYU is a private institution. There's no way of actually grabbing access to their records. So I know what I've been told that they're paying Kevin Young. But if you go off the reporting of college basketball reporters that dig into this stuff, A.J. Devance is $7 million for 5 months of basketball. Rob Wright, $3 million to play for BYU. We know they paid Yegor 7 figures. They paid Cannon Catching 7 figures. Cannon has transferred. Yegor is going to the NBA. They're trying to get Richie Saunders back with a 7-figure deal offer. There's a recruit in the transfer portal named Darion Williams who played for Texas Tech last year that, according to Jeff Goodman, is now looking at BYU for a 7-figure offer. BYU is going to market and they're outbidding other teams for talent. That's the name of the game. If you just do simple math, that's about $15 million for 5 or 6 players. So I wonder what you make of BYU opening up the pocketbooks to go to market to outbid other schools for players, which is what they're doing, and what sort of pressure you think this brings Alex and the University of Utah.
Well, I mean, the pressure is always going to be there to win and to produce. So that never goes away. how BYU is doing it. BYU, as far as I know, they're playing by the rules, and that's what everybody does. That's what Kentucky's doing. That's what Kansas is doing. That's what Duke is doing, et cetera, et cetera. And they want to be one of those guys eventually. So this is how they're doing it. So that's until those rules change, Spence, until the NCAA puts a cap on this stuff and regulates it more. So you're talking about, the kid from Baylor that he had signed a deal, and I don't know what the wording is. I don't know how those guys send that information out. But I don't know what the phrase he signed a deal, in this case with Baylor, what that actually means, because I don't know what you sign and then you go, oh, you know what? Hey, by the way, I changed my mind. Just throw that away in the garbage. I'm doing something else. I mean, I don't know what those things are.
Right.
But I think the way it works currently with NIL, it's such a loose cannon, and there's so many open areas where schools can arrange for things and stuff that's why, even the people in the industry refer to it at this moment in time as the Wild Wild West, and everybody's just trying to outbid the next guy, which I find very distasteful, for anybody who gets involved in that. I don't know if you saw right after they lost in the NCAA tournament, Scotty Layden's old school, St. Francis in Pennsylvania, decide they're getting out of Division I athletics and moving to Division III because they just don't think it's the right thing to do relative to what the mission of the university is. I'm surprised there aren't more schools that are saying that and saying, wait a minute, what are we really doing here? What is really going on in most places at the current time is that schools are selling out to the almighty dollar and trying to sell more basketball tickets and more buckets of popcorn and all that kind of stuff to make money for the school. They're going to tell you it's promoting the school, in a PR sense, and by doing so is going to up their admissions and all. And there's a lot of reports that argue against that really, being the outcome of those things. But that's what they're going to argue. But you can't tell me that a school's academic reputation and what they're trying to do, as an institution to educate young people, falls in the hands of the athletic department, and whether they get A.J. DeBanza to come to their school or not. I just don't buy that. But having said that, everybody's doing it. All those are the rules at the moment. BYU has just decided they're getting in with that full bore, which is good for them. Utah's going to play catch up. They're going to try and do the same thing until this whole thing gets regulated, which I guess we'll see some of coming down shortly from the government about the NCAA payoff and all that stuff, and maybe there'll be more rules about that coming this summer.
Before I set you loose, because I promise you I'd do this, Masters going on right now, and by the way, Tony Finau needs a birdie on either 17 or 18. He parred 16. He's one stroke off the cut line. But you wanted to share some things about your Masters experience, and then we've got a cool event coming up at Black Desert.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to throw out that my wife Linda and I have been privileged to be able to go down and volunteer and work for the Black Desert Championship last fall for the PGA Tour, and we're going to do the same thing again the end of this month for the LPGA, which will be down at the Black Desert course down there in St. George and Ivins, Utah. And I know that they're currently trying to get more volunteers to come down. A lot of people aren't aware that those opportunities exist. So if anybody's interested, in going down to St. George at the end of the month and participating as volunteers for the Black Desert, the LPGA tournament down there, you can go on the Black Desert golf course website. It'll direct you to how to do a volunteer thing, and so that that's a great opportunity to get involved in your community and also to get involved in golf. And I was just going to mention with the Masters, I had the opportunity to go in 2011. What a great thing that was, and anybody who ever has a chance to go to Augusta, Georgia for this week of golf, it is a lifetime, once in a lifetime experience to witness it firsthand and see how they do things and on the highest level possible. It's just an experience that you never forget. And anybody I've ever talked to, Spence, over the years, who has had the chance to go, feel the exact same way. I've never heard anyone say, "Oh, it was overblown. Oh, that was, it's not what they made it up to be." It's what they make it up to be, and more so. So, people watching this weekend, sit back and watch a tournament, at one of the most beautiful golf courses around.
Some of us have to do 4 hours of radio and sell steaks.
See that?
Smitty.
See that? You, Spence, see, again, we relate it to the NCAA stuff. Spence, you're all in on the box of beef.
I am.
And however it comes to you, that's what we're doing.
20 ribeyes for $40. Come on out and say hi. Smitty, great to see you.
Hey, my Central Connecticut math, if I'm not mistaken, tells me that's $2 a steak.
You are an
Spence,
impressive man,
see
Smitty.
what I'm saying?
Richard Smith, appreciate his time. We got 3 hours down, 1 hour to go. We're late, so let's catch a break. 5 o'clock hours next, right here on ESPN 700. All right, let's get it. Drive at 5 time on a Friday afternoon. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations, you made it. It is weekend time. Take a big old deep breath. Your commute home on a Friday afternoon gets rolling right now, and as it is every single day, it is good to have you along for the ride. We are out and about today. The 5 o'clock hour of the program today is brought to you by friends at Cortland Roofing, which is your go-to for all of your re-roofing, roof repairs, and roof maintenance needs. They're offering you a free insurance analysis, free estimates, and senior discounts as well. More information can be found at cortlandroofing.com. Live today, out and about with our friends at Homestead Steaks. If you're going to make your commute home right now, put this address in your GPS and follow it out. It's 10450 South State Street, number 2320, 10450 South State Street, number 2320. Trust me, put that in your GPS and follow it, and you'll be able to find us out here. We're by the Ethan Allen store and the JCPenney store here at the Southtown Mall. And they're offering 20 ribeyes for $40. That's right, 20 big old fat steaks for only $40. It's their weekend meat sale. They're doing this at Fashion Place, the shops at Southtown. That's where we're at. Provo Town Center Mall if you're down south. So come on by and say hi. 10450 South State Street, our good friends at Homestead Steaks. So they're also doing half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. They've got a bulk family party pack to fill your freezer with New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments are accepted, cash, credit, debit, and EBT, but the big deal is 20 big old fat ribeye steaks for $40. That's right, $2 per steak. They're giving me a box of meat, taking it home, so I went and checked it out. These are high-quality cuts as well. So come on out and say what's up. Our good friends out here taking care of you at Homestead Steaks. It is the 89th playing of the Masters Tournament at Augusta, Georgia, at Augusta National. And some bad news for our guy Tony Finau, who just bogeyed 17 and now has one hole left. So Tony is 4 over par. The cut line is 2 over par. So Tony needs a miracle, either a hole in on 18, which is a tough hole at Augusta, or grab one more birdie and hope the cut line moves, but I just don't think it's going to. Your leader after 2 rounds is Justin Rose, who shot a sparkling 65 round 1 and followed up with a workmanlike 71 to maintain his lead at 8 under par. Second place, Bryson DeChambeau carded a 68 today. A unbelievable response from Rory McIlroy after just you-know-whatting the bed down the stretch yesterday. He shot 66, which I believe is the best round today. Yeah, it is. 66 is the best round anyone has shot today. And Rory at 6 under par along with Corey Connors. Looks like Matt McCarthy's at 5 under, so is Shane Lowry. Scotty Scheffler just wrapped up his second round. After carding a 68 yesterday, Scotty wasn't as sharp today. He had a 71, but that's still good for a top 5 under par, along with Terrell Hatton. And then, there you go. So Tony Finau is going to need a miracle to make the cut. Mike Weir will not be playing over the weekend as well, with a 75 round 1. Followed up with a 73 round 2 today. And so he'll go home for the weekend. So no local reps, it looks like, over the weekend at the Augusta National Masters Tournament, the 89th playing of the Masters. Utah Jazz are in action tonight. It is their final home game. They're taking on Oklahoma City. Alex Jensen made a hire today. He hired Martin Schiller as another assistant coach for the University of Utah. Rico Sylvester has also been hired as the director of ops for Utah men's basketball. RSL's in action tomorrow taking on Nashville. So a lot of local stuff going on over the weekend. All right, we'll catch a break. We'll discuss all these local storylines and more with Chris Kamrani, who joins us coming up on the other side right here on ESPN 700. All right, wrapping it up. Final segment of the program for the day and for the week. Happy weekend. Happy Friday. Looks like a nice little weekend, maybe a little chillier than you would prefer, or maybe I'll just speak for myself because it's 80 degrees today and I wish it was 80 degrees every day. Saturday's pretty good. Sunday about 57. It's going to be a little chilly on Sunday and then warming up until next week. So happy weekend to you. Hope you have something fun planned, maybe a little golf, a little hiking, a little biking. Get outside. It's one of the best parts of living in this beautiful state. Before we say goodnight, time for our You Went to Golf Masters update. 5 Utah locations at worldwidegolfshops.com for the latest on Titleist Pro V1X. Ping drivers, TaylorMade QI 35 woods, and the Callaway AI 10 times Smart Club. It's the 89th playing of the Masters tournament at Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia, where conditions were really, really nice today. Justin Rose grinding his way to a 2-round lead. He's 8 under par. Bryson DeChambeau, the defending U.S. champ, is 7 under par. Rory McIlroy, 6 under par, as is Corey Connors. Matt McCarty, Shane Lowry, Terrell Hatton, Scotty Scheffler, 5 under par. Victor Hovland, Jason Day at 4 under par. Your winner will come from the names that I just listed. The one exception I'll give you is Ludwig Oberg, who struggled a bit today with a 73, but he's at 3 under, and that kid has so much game, I wouldn't be stunned to see him have something to say about it. So there you go. Jazz in action tonight, taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. No idea who's going to play. Reminder, it is a 7:30 tip. It's a little bit later than that usual 7 o'clock tip. It will be the final game where Dan Roberts will be the PA voice of the Utah Jazz. Alex Jensen made a couple of hires today. Martin Schiller is going to be an assistant coach for AJ. He is a guy that has a lot of experience. He was the G League coach of the Stars, and he was the G League coach of the year once upon a time. So there you go. Rob Wright has transferred to BYU. According to Jeff Goodman, it's going to cost BYU $3 million. So there you go. RSL back in action tomorrow, taking on San Jose. Before we say goodnight, I want to tell you about what we're doing out here, which is where we're at 10450 South State Street. Number 2320. It is a vacant parking lot with a truck full of meat. That's right, Homestead Steaks. 20 ribeyes for $40. It's their weekend meat sale. And they also have, in addition to that, crazy half-price bulk deals on steak, chicken, pork chops, and seafood. Check out their party packs to fill your freezer with New York strips, fillets, mega ribeyes, gourmet smash burgers, plus chicken and seafood. All payments accepted, cash, credit, debit, and EBT. Porter Larson, 2 rounds down with the major championship, of course, the Masters. Who you got? On Monday, who are we going to be talking about on Monday that won this tournament?
Yeah, well, as you said, Spence, the name is likely to come from that group of leaders that you just mentioned. Of course, our guy Tony Finau struggling down the stretch. He had 3 bogeys on the back 9, a lot of them on the putter as well. So bummer to see our guy Tony Finau drop like that. But the winner, Spence, man, I really like the way that Justin Rose is playing golf. Obviously, Rory McIlroy, with that round he had today, you have to keep him at top of mind over the weekend. Yeah, that number 1 player in the world, though, Spence, sitting 3 shots back. And Scotty seems to kind of just be filling the course out this year so far. I think especially if the conditions are wet, if the greens are soft, I think Scotty Scheffler's the guy you look at for a low weekend. But again, Justin Rose, Bryson DeChambeau, those guys already have a couple of shots up on him going into round 3.
There you go. So stay tuned. We'll let you, of course, know the takeaways from Augusta National and let you know who's going to win the tournament. We'll cover it on a Monday drive. But Porter, before we get out of here, get our weekend started out. What comes our way on a Monday edition of the program?
As you said, Spence, we will react to the Masters, the first hour of the show. Rex Hoggart, who was going to join us today but is live in Augusta, was dealing with some stuff on the course when we were trying him earlier. He's going to join the show on Monday, as will our old friend Cam Rogers. Of course, you mentioned it, Spence, the final home game of the season for the Utah Jazz tonight. They'll wrap up over the weekend. And then on Monday, I'll be down at the Zions basketball facility wrapping things up with Will Hardy and Justin Zanuck. So we'll have some sound from then. Sarah Todd will stop by the program post NBA season, as will a standout from the weekend with Real Salt Lake. Of course, they are in action against Nashville on Saturday.
All right, there you go. That'll do it for us on this Friday show. Special thank you to our friends out here who are hooking you up with great steaks. Our friends at Homestead Steaks, 20 ribeyes for $40. It is their weekend meat deal. Special thank you today to Howard Beck, to Christopher Kamrani, to Richard Smith, and to Paul Pugmire. For any of the sound you may have missed from the show, website ESPN700sports.com. Download our mobile app and take us on the go. The ESPN 700 app is available for free in the App Store and the Google Play Store. And then for what we do in our space, our podcast page is the way for you to go consume whatever part of our show you want to on your time. It is called The Drive with Spence Checketts, and that's available wherever you get your shows. Subscribe, rate, review, say nice things in the comments, give us all the stars. It helps. Reporter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Have a great weekend. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Talk to you on a Monday drive. As always, you can catch that right here on ESPN 700.